Old Dong, Yangzhou has been particularly restless these past few days, Lin Ruhai said with a light chuckle, fingers gently stroking his beard. Tell me, Master Zheng, this latest spectacle, who do you think orchestrated it? A wandering hero acting on behalf of justice, perhaps. Zheng laughed dryly. The Zhen family would certainly like to believe that, but chasing that fantasy will get them nowhere. Lin Ruhai only smiled, eyes gleaming with restrained amusement. Who knows? Let's not speak too carelessly. Just 2 days prior, a chilling incident had sent shockwaves through Yangzhou. Zhen Heng, the youngest son from the third branch of the powerful Jin clan, had vanished while boating along the Qinhuai River. The family scoured every corner of the city in vain. Then, as if mocking them, Zhen Heng was found early the next morning, dumped at the family's doorstep completely nude. His eyes had been gouged out, his tongue torn out, fingers severed at the knuckles. And most horrifyingly, his manhood had been removed with precise, surgical efficiency, just like the palace eunuch surgeons performed. Zhen Heng had no heirs. The third madam fainted on the spot. The old matriarch nearly stopped breathing. Zhen Yingjia stood frozen, rage and humiliation etched on his face. This wasn't just an act of violence. It was a message delivered with cruel precision. A slap across the Zhen family's face in full view of all Yangzhou. The city erupted into chaos. The Zhen clan mobilized all forces, turning every alley upside down. Streets swarmed with soldiers. Spies moved like shadows. Even Lin Ruhai felt the pressure from their demands for justice. Ridiculous, truly. The Zhen family, who had long resorted to poison and coercion to silence enemies, now acting like victims? Lin Ruhai knew exactly what hand had likely dealt the Zhen family this blow. But saying it aloud? Never. As the chaos boiled in Yangzhou, Prince Yi's royal vessel docked. Sin Mingche returned to his quarters on the ship. The atmosphere lightened among those aware of his whereabouts. Your Highness, you don't know the fear we've been living in, cried Xian, a cheerful young man and grandson of a cabinet minister. Yes, we were terrified something had happened to you, added Lu Bohong, more cautious by nature. Zhong Zhou, youngest son of the Zhangwu general, grinned. Enough gloom. We deserve a feast, don't we? How about your Highness regales us with stories from your travels? Sin Mingche's tone shifted, sharp and direct. I didn't call you here for celebration. I need your help. He handed them copies of confessions and documents compiled by the Suzhou prefect. Evidence, damning and extensive. My father sent me south to observe the Zhen family. I've only just arrived, and already I've gathered enough to damn them. But now I wonder, am I my father's Jiangnan or the Zhen family's? The three read in silence. As the weight of the pages sank in, their expressions turned grave. This is monstrous. They act like warlords, not nobles, interfering with the salt trade, bribing officials, poisoning rivals. They've gone mad with power. Your Highness, they must be removed. For the good of the empire. Sin Mingche nodded slowly. Indeed, but toppling such a colossal house won't be easy. Even a dead centipede twitches. The others rose to their feet, fire in their eyes. Then let us help you pull it down. We'll do whatever it takes, Your Highness. Meanwhile, the Zhen family remained blind to the storm gathering. Mother, do you think Prince Yi's arrival means he will come visit us? Asked Zhen Yingjia. Lady Zhen closed her eyes, her silver hair glowing in the lantern light. Despite her age, she looked as regal as ever, unwrinkled, dignified, commanding. Likely, His Majesty enjoyed many outings in our gardens. But do you truly believe the prince came here just for leisure? Zhen Yingjia stiffened. What do you mean? Our family's fortune was born from my wet nursing the emperor. But I'm nearly 70. When I die, what protection will remain? Don't rely too much on Yinji's pregnancy to secure your place. Mother, Yinji is clever and favored. She carries the imperial child. It's only a matter of time before I'm named grandfather to a prince. Lady Zhen sighed. You speak too easily. His Majesty already has many sons. Even a prince's grandfather can fall in a blink. She leaned forward. We must begin retreating. Tell our children to rein in their extravagance. Gather land, invest quietly, nurture reputation. If needed, I'll swallow my pride and beg His Majesty for leave." Eventually, their conversation faded as she drifted to sleep. Outside the room, Jean Ingjia exhaled heavily. "She's grown cautious with age," he muttered. The servant beside him whispered, "Does the old madam want us to step back, sir?" "Yes," Jean Ingjia murmured. "But how can I? I've just become the emperor's confidant. Yinji carries the future. This is our moment to rise, not retreat." A pause. Then his eyes darkened. "Has the one who mutilated Hunger been found?" The servant's face twisted in discomfort. "No, sir. Young Master Hung still can't speak. Search again. Every boat on that river. I don't care if they have wings. No one vanishes into thin air." "Yes, sir." In spring, Langyuan hosts 1,000 guests. In autumn, Yangzhou basks in the moonlight. The first banquet to welcome Prince Sinmingche was held in the famed Mingyue Tower, the pride of Yangzhou and its grandest pleasure hall. Named for the poetic line, "Half the moonlight in the world rests over Yangzhou," the tower was often called the 2 points of bright moon, echoing its fame as a place where elegance met excess under the moon. As tradition dictated, the banquet was held in the evening, when moonlight bathed the land in silver and cool breezes whispered through painted corridors. The tower's owner, a plump salt merchant named Li Yinshang, led the way with a deferential smile plastered across his face. He was a man of wealth and caution, and Sinmingche strongly suspected he was the verily mentioned by Zhan Heng, the Jin family's partner in illicit salt trading. A train of Yangzhou's local officials followed Sinmingche, acting as both companions and quiet observers. The main building sat proudly at the garden's northern end, a sprawling 7-bay hall facing south, adorned with a golden plaque inscribed 2 points of moonlight. It acted as both a scenic centerpiece and a barrier, hiding the northern bustle and framing the view of the southern gardens like a painted screen. To the east rose a rugged, man-made hill, Huangshe Mountain, with 3 elegant pavilions clinging to its slope. From the west-facing Shijiao Pavilion, one could watch the moon set over distant rooftops, while to the southwest, Yingyue Pavilion stood in mirrored defiance, greeting the moon as it rose. The layout was deliberate. Staggered pavilions and winding paths formed secluded spaces and distant lines of sight. The garden's heart was filled with intricately designed moon bridges, curved corridors, and fan-shaped gazebos. Doors and windows mimicked the phases of the moon, full, crescent, waning, while disc-shaped tiles and scattered yellow stones formed the illusion of ripples across water. By the time dusk painted the sky in gold and the moon peaked over the eastern ridge, the feast had begun. Musicians played beneath the moon corridor, their instruments humming softly. Dancers drifted between shadows like wisps of silk, their movements synchronized with the delicate cadence of Wu dialect songs. Li Yinshang raised his cup with pride. "Your Highness, what I present tonight is Yangzhou's famous 3 Heads banquet. Legend says even His Majesty praised this feast during his southern tour." He grinned broadly. "The 3 heads are grilled whole pig head, crab-stuffed lion's head meatballs, and braised silver carp head." What followed was a procession of culinary artistry. 8 chilled appetizers, 4 side dishes, 10 steaming entrees, flavors layered with precision. Alongside the 3 heads were stir-fried ribbon fish, crispy soft-shelled eel, golden fried chicken, braised pigeon eggs with abalone breast, cabbage hearts with ginkgo, and coconut-glazed fruit compote. Yangzhou fried rice served as the staple. The soup, hibiscus chicken slices, was delicate and fragrant. For snacks, lotus leaf wraps and vegetable buns. The dessert, ingenious. A fruit platter arranged into the shape of the jade rabbit pounding herbs beneath the moon, skewered with thin bamboo sticks to form a living picture. Moonlight filtered through the willows, shadows danced across the stones, and cicadas hummed their autumn dirge. The setting was serene, like a dream, a place where one could mistake a garden path for a mountain stream or a reflection for the moon itself. After the meal, plates were cleared, fruits laid out, and a troupe of dancers stepped into the courtyard on silent lotus feet. Then came the spectacle. From the moon bridge, a girl in a moon-white dress drifted down like a spirit, twin silk ribbons trailing from her hands. As she bowed and spun, a young wine servant emerged from the shadows and presented her, along with a porcelain cup of wine, to Tsinmingche. Li Yinshang beamed. "Your Highness, this performance is called Chang'e Offers Wine. A little tribute from humble merchants like us." Tsinmingche's eyes flickered. The girl's feet were tiny, bound feet. He'd heard tales of the infamous Yangzhou thin horses, trained since childhood to serve as concubines or playthings for the rich. Their feet broken and reshaped into grotesque symbols of elegance. The Dacian Empire had banned such practices for royal wives and palace women, but here they were, paraded in the open for entertainment. His voice, though soft, cut through the music like ice. "I don't like women with bound feet. Bones rotting inside the flesh. What's so beautiful about that?" A stunned silence swept the garden. Li Yinshang's smile faltered into a grimace. The girl paled, lowering her eyes in shame. Tsinmingche wasn't merely a prince. He was the voice of the emperor in Jiangnan. A word from him could reshape fashion, fortune, and fate. Li forced a laugh. "Ah, yes, yes. Of course. His Highness is right." He snapped at the girl. "Leave. Now." His attempt to please had backfired spectacularly. The gift, meant to curry favor, might now drag him into disrepute. Panic flickered in his eyes. Trying to salvage the mood, a local magistrate, He Tongji, chuckled nervously. "Your Highness may not be aware, but small feet are considered graceful, elegant, like floating lotuses. Their delicate form has a charm of its own." Tsinmingche looked at him coldly. Breaking a girl's bones, curling her toes under her soles, and binding them into a dumpling shape. "Is that charm?" he asked, voice low but stern. "Then why did our founding emperor decree that women with bound feet cannot be wives, cannot enter the palace, and cannot receive royal titles?" He continued, voice rising. "Golden lotus shoes never existed in ancient texts. Even the goddess Guanyin walked barefoot. Foot binding was the invention of the lowest class of men, those who needed weak women to feel strong." The air grew still. True strength doesn't require deformity. Only cowards glorify pain disguised as beauty, and they turn that sickness into culture. It was not just a critique, it was a condemnation. The assembled men, most of whom once bragged about their collections of thin horses, sat silently, heads lowered. Tsinmingche knew these merchants. Rich, powerful in their own corner of the empire, but socially insecure. They bowed and scraped to officials, bribed at every opportunity, and vented their frustrations on defenseless women, twisting beauty into suffering. Pathetic, Tsinmingche thought coldly. If you need to crush others to feel tall, then you're not strong. You're broken. I'm not that kind of man. And tonight, under the silver moon, Yangzhou's nobility was reminded that the empire was watching.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Many people in the venue looked unhappy. You know, the Yangzhou thin horse is considered a trend in the Jiangnan area, and is even given to each other as a heavy gift by many dignitaries and dignitaries. After all, the good Yangzhou thin horse costs 1,500 taels of silver. Now Tsinmingche's scolding really criticized all of them. "Your Highness, everyone has his own merits. Maybe you haven't realized it. No need. The deformity of those little feet makes you sick just by looking at them. In fact, there's another important point. Due to the popularity of thin horses in Yangzhou, many people will deliberately recruit 5- or 6-year-old girls from poor families, train them from childhood, and sell them to rich people as concubines in the future, or sell them into fireworks venues. Natural reasons determine that the ratio of men to women in the world is basically 1-to-1. In ancient times, when there were no wars, women's loss rate was slightly higher due to childbearing and son preference. There are no women who cannot marry, only men who cannot marry a wife. The sale of thin horses in Yangzhou will aggravate this situation, and foot binding will also increase the mortality rate of women. Originally, these girls from poor families might have grown up hungry and well-fed, and would later marry ordinary teenagers from the same village, forming a stable but fragile family. But due to the popularity of thin horses, a big gap will gradually appear among women at the bottom. This means that more men than before are unable to find wives. When a rich man can have hundreds of concubines, but there are thousands of poor people who can't even get wives, it will become a huge destabilizing factor in society. At this time, there is no TikTok for those people to distract their energy. This country will be his world in the future. Will the emergence of rebels or bandits make him proud? Population is the primary productive force. Just because of the disgusting hobbies of these upper-class people, there may be turmoil and unrest at the bottom of society. Besides, Mingche really doesn't think there's anything beautiful about Chow's little feet. Is it a morbid aesthetic? Damn it. Mingche frowned. If you like this kind of thing, go ahead and like it, but don't let me see it. It's just dirtying my eyes. Yes, 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 yes. Li Yinshang quickly waved his hand and told the dancers with bound feet to leave. The scene was silent for a while. Your Highness, please don't be angry. After all, skinny horses are a specialty here. It's just a little thought of me to present them to you. It's my fault that we didn't think carefully and only put the best ones on the table. The governor of Yangzhou came out to smooth things over. Chen Zhizhou is interested. Sin Mingche laughed it off on the surface, but in his heart he had already decided that once he came to power, he would eradicate this bad habit of the previous dynasty completely. If your little feet look good, then they must be natural little feet. A petite girl with a pair of petite feet, snow white and pink, and nails like pink pearls. Just like Jin Yong wrote about Guo Jing watching Huang Rong wash her feet, and then this loyal and honest man was extremely shy. This is beautiful. He didn't believe it. He took off his embroidered shoes and foot-wrapping cloth, and a normal man could still be interested in a pair of feet wrapped like that. Have a mental illness? Admiring Cho or admiring Can. What's more, small feet will greatly increase the probability of a woman dying before childbearing age. As a ruler, the loss of a large number of women of childbearing age is a greater loss than the loss of money. Not to mention that small feet can indirectly lead to dystocia. For an agricultural country, increasing population is its lifeblood. Sin Mingche smiled, stretched out his hand, and tapped Lu Bohong. Besides, my brother-in-law is still sitting here. So you're giving me a woman? Aren't you afraid that I will be beaten out by my wife when I go back? Everyone present laughed in a dignified manner. That's it. That night. Sir, our business has been suspended for several days. You see, are you desperate for your life? The third prince's guard of honor is here to stay, and everything will be strictly investigated. If our business is found out, I will certainly be hurt, but your whole family will be destroyed. Understand. We are good citizens who cannot be more law-abiding. You're pretty clear-headed. By the way, sir, what we're doing, will the Third Highness know? Yes. No. What can a young boy like me do? Then you think, should I give him something else? Send them away? Don't you have several thin horses in your hands? Can't you just send them over? But sir, His Highness doesn't like women with small feet. Don't you have several daughters? Your feet are not bound, right? Yes. The younger one will give his daughter to His Highness the Third Highness as a concubine, and then give her a dowry of 100,000 silver, 1 taels of gold, and 20 handfuls of pearls. What do you think? You can take care of these little things yourself. As long as you fool him, our business will still be open. There was a low chuckle from the adult. Boss Lee, let's work together and make a lot of money together, ah? Yes, the wealth will be prosperous. Sun Mingche looked at Li Yinshang's face with a flattering smile and didn't even want to be angry anymore. He wanted to laugh. No, he seems to be so in need of women. The skinny horse didn't get stuffed, so why don't you stuff him with a daughter? No, he is a dignified prince, but he needs a woman? Take another look at the dowry list. Oh, I understand. It's not just about stuffing my daughter. It's also stuffing me with money in the hope of blowing my pillow. Sorry, I'm not short of money either. Sin Mingche casually threw away the dowry list filled with gold, silver, pearls, and jade, and looked at Li Yinshang with a half-smile. Boss Li, what does this mean? Li Yinshang nodded and bowed. This, His Highness is so heroic and handsome that the little girl in the family fell in love with him at first sight. This is not my infatuation as a father, wanting to fulfill my daughter. Come again, come again. Commander Chao used the same words when he gave him his daughter, and Li Yinshang used the same words when he gave him his daughter. Did you two have a dialogue with each other? Do you really want to hook up with him? Sorry, I won't cooperate. Boss Li, I think you may have misunderstood something. Sin Mingche stood up with a smile and walked slowly around Li Yinshang. Li Yinshang's back was soaked with sweat. This prince is not short of money, nor is he short of women. Even if you want to please me, you should get something you can use in exchange. Don't treat me like the king. Treat me like others. Sin Mingche gently tapped Li Yinshang's shoulder with the folding fan in his hand. Li Yinshang felt uneasy. After being hit like this, his legs went weak and he knelt down on the spot. Hey, Boss Li, why are you kneeling? Get up, get up. I won't blame you, right? It's just, Boss Li, you can't look down on me. Sin Mingche frowned slightly, shook his head, opened the folding fan, and shook it twice, still with a gentle smile on his face. Before you give me a gift, you have to ask me what I like, right? Otherwise, wouldn't it be just carrying 3 animals to worship Guanyin and giving the wrong tribute? Boss Li, you have no intention. Tisk, no. Boss Li is such a well-rounded businessman. How could he not be careful? Oh, I understand. Boss Li looks down on Xiao Wang, a mere county king, and wants to send me away casually, right? The smile on Li Yinshang's face was uglier than crying, and beads of sweat the size of soybeans rolled down his forehead. He shook his hands and began to slap himself left and right. I made a small mistake with my words. Please forgive me. Your Highness, please forgive me. No matter who Li Yinshang cooperates with, he is just a commoner, no more than an ant in front of Sin Mingche. No matter how much Zhang Yingjia felt that Sin Mingche was still young and looked down on him, he was still the 3rd prince of Dakian. He seemed to be very favored and traveled south of the Yangtze River on the emperor's orders. As long as Sin Mingche is accused of defying the royal family, he can be killed and his home ransacked. To be honest, if Sin Mingche really wanted to deal with him, he would not have to use more force than lifting a piece of grass. Sin Mingche sat down slowly and watched Li Yinshang slap him on the left and right. In order to satisfy Sin Mingche, Li Yinshang did not hold back at all. After he slapped himself more than a dozen times, Sin Mingche put down the teacup. Mr. Li, why are you doing this? Come, sit down and drink tea. As soon as Li Yinshang said something, he stood up timidly, sat down next to him, picked up the teacup with shaking hands, and took a big sip of tea. The tea was very hot, and Li Yinshang's mouth was already open. The pain was getting worse when the hot tea aroused it. But Li Yinshang didn't dare to show anything was wrong on his face. If Mr. Li is so interested, he can find some chefs who can cook Yangzhou cuisine for me. Yangzhou cuisine is quite to my taste. Sin Mingche still looked at Li Yinshang with a smile. Li Yinshang's cheeks were already red and swollen, and it looked like it might continue to get worse. It was difficult to make any expression. Upon hearing Sin Mingche's words, Li Yinshang breathed a sigh of relief. It would be easy to figure it out. If His Highness asked him to guess, he would be even more panicked. Yes, it is an honor for these dishes to be favored by His Highness. Watching Li Yinshang leave in embarrassment, Sin Mingche sneered. Keep an eye on him and try to get the account books of the Li family and the Zhen family. Lu Xiangyang walked out of the shadows, said yes, and disappeared into the shadows again. Zhen family. Oh, the Zhen family. Sin Mingche knew in his heart that no matter what was found, as long as the old lady of the Zhen family was still alive, the emperor would definitely give their family face. However, the old lady of the Zhen family is already over 80 years old. How long can she live? How long can his good father live? Sin Mingche thought again of the emperor's secret decree before leaving. Originally, the Zhen family was my eyes in Jiangnan. But in recent years, the Zhen family has become more and more unsettled. You go to Jiangnan and help me take a good look at the situation in Jiangnan. Sun Mingche also knew that the emperor would not simply leave this matter to him alone. There might be spies among the guards assigned to him by the emperor. Besides, his good father not only wanted to observe how the Zhun family in Jiangnan was doing, but he also wanted to observe how he was doing. In other words, being with a king is like being with a tiger. Father, but emperor comes first and father comes later. However, the Zhun family did rely on their father's trust to make the Jiangnan area their own territory. As for this Li Yinshang, there are not many honest salt merchants in the first place, especially those who cooperate with the Zhun family. Many salt merchants not only buy and sell official salt, but also buy and sell private salt. How does this behavior work? First of all, no matter what kind of relationship you have, once you're qualified to get a salt guide, you can directly use money to buy it. For example, you could buy 100,000 kilograms of salt guide. Then, take this and go to the salt field to pick up salt. The well-established salt merchants began to exert their strength at this time. From the salt farm, you would not only withdraw the original kilograms of salt, but also buy another batch of salt from the salt official at a price far lower than the official price. The two batches of salt are then put together and transported and bought and sold. However, only part of it is official salt that is passed through the government, and the other part is private salt that is bought and sold privately. But with the fig leaf of Yanin, that batch of private salt can be hidden underneath and make a lot of profits. As for where this extra batch of salt comes from, naturally, the salt officials from the salt field deceived the superiors and deceived the subordinates, and exploited the salt people. It makes the people suffer, but these corrupt officials and profiteers have a lot to eat. Necessities like salt have always been profitable. No matter how you manage it now, it will only treat the symptoms, but not the root cause. It will still return to its original state after a while. If you want to fundamentally solve the problem, what is the industrial production method of salt? Nowadays, in the salt fields of Zhejiang University and Zhejiang University, the salt extraction method is used to extract brine. The saline alkali soil rich in salt from the sea is used as raw material to prepare concentrated brine. When there is salt and frost on the ground, you use a shovel to cut it and collect it, which is called scraping soil. The scraped soil in March is called peach blossom soil, in June is called fu soil, and in September is called chrysanthemum soil. Fu soil is the saltiest, peach soil, jutu comes second. Then spread the salt soil flat and pour it repeatedly with concentrated salt water to form a concentrated brine. Wait until the brine reaches the desired concentration before decoction, thus forming table salt. The salt produced in this way is coarse salt, which sticks together in lumps like mud, so it is called salt. Because these are basically purely physical reactions, impurities in table salt cannot be eliminated. There are many more impurities in sea salt than in well salt, so well salt is rarer and more expensive. Relatively high-grade fine salt needs to be filtered multiple times, and the salt mine itself is required to have no impurities. Therefore, fine salt is as valuable as silver. Ordinary people can only eat salt that has not been purified and is full of impurities. The purification of table salt in the chemical industry is very simple. Add lime and soda ash to the concentrated brine in batches to turn the impurities into insoluble salts and precipitate them. This method can greatly improve the utilization rate of sea salt. The extraction of sea salt and lake salt is the simplest, because you can use the sun salt method at the seaside and lakeside. The huge temperature difference between day and night, as well as the strong wind, are good helpers for concentrating brine and refining salt. The tide replaces artificial brine. It is dug directly from the salt fields and is coarse salt. The coarse salt is then filtered and purified into fine salt and refined salt. This method can save a lot of fuel and manpower, thereby reducing the price of salt. Even if it is impossible to dry salt inland, the salt can be greatly purified and more refined salt can be produced. And if such a salt drying method is carried out on a large scale at the seaside, the labor cost is reduced to the point where it can completely cover the transportation cost. In this way, sea salt alone may be able to meet the needs of people in most parts of the country. Sun Mingche was eager to try it out. However, Yantai official camp. It is also illegal to refine salt privately. You still have to write a proper plan and submit it to the emperor before it can be implemented. If the problems of salt yield and production cost are solved, salt merchants will no longer need to exist, and salt will become a universal product. How ironic that there are still so many people who can't even afford salt, let alone enough to eat. Salt is the lifeblood of the world. Since I'm here in Yangzhou, I have to meet all the salt merchants who have revitalized the world. Sun Mingche said to Lin Rahai with a smile, which was funny but did not reach his eyes. Master Lin, tell me the truth. How many salt merchants are there who do not side with the Zhen family? Zhen Jiaming controls half of the 4 major salt merchants in Jiangnan. Oh, on the bright side, yes, on the surface, no one knows whether these 4 major salt merchants are all members of the Zhen family. So Mingche thought for a while. Mr. Lin, what is the relationship between these 4 major salt merchants? Your Highness, the 4 major salt merchants are the Li family, the Dou family, the Zhang family, and the Yin family. The Li family is related by marriage to the Zhang family and has had a long-standing feud with the Dou family. The Li family is already the largest salt merchant, and the Dou family, the family wants to replace the Li family. Anything else? The Dou family and the Yin family have a close relationship, and they have many business and personal contacts. So, on the surface, both the Li family and the Dou family want to surpass each other. The Li family forms an alliance with the Zhang family, and the Dou family forms an alliance with the Yin family. Exactly. Then, let me meet the people who talk about these 4 families. Sir, obey. Do you know everything? His Highness, the 3rd Highness, wants to see you tomorrow. This, keep your mouth shut. Don't say what you shouldn't say. Sir, we definitely know this. That's right, sir. Could you tell me what the reason is for His Highness the 3rd Prince to come to us for? You just need to remember to be careful. Yes, yes. If I'm right, he should be friendly to you. Just use your discretion. Understand? Noon the next day. This time the banquet was held in the private garden of Dou Yin Merchant. Gu Garden is based on bamboo and stone. Even the character Ji in the name of the garden is taken from half of the character bamboo, which corresponds to the various bamboos in the garden. In addition, it is also named because every 3 bamboo leaves on the top of the bamboo can form the character, and the shadow on the white wall is also the character Gu. The 4 season rockeries in Gyuan each have their own characteristics. The mountains in spring are gorgeous and like a smile. The mountains in summer are green and like drops. The mountains in autumn are bright and clean like makeup. And the mountains in winter are bleak and like sleep. After Dou Yinshang invited Sun Mingche to visit, he placed a small banquet in front of the spring scene. The tall bamboos on both sides are taller than the wall, soaring into the sky and reaching the clouds. Among the bamboo clumps, stalagmites are planted with mottled stone green, which means love springs from every inch of stone, which means bamboo shoots springing up after the rain. Stalagmites and real spring bamboo shoots are intertwined, which is quite like the growth of all things in spring. According to Sun Mingche, this was a small banquet, with only 1 table set up. Apart from the 4 salt merchants, it was only him and Lin Rahai. Li Yinshang's face was round and fair, but it still looked a little bruised because of what happened before. But he looked calm and calm. Zhang Yinshang is slightly thin, in his early 30s, has a goatee and small eyes, and looks very shrewd. Dou Yinshang has a red square face, a tall build, and a deep voice. Yin Yinshang is a white-faced scholar, about 40, elegant, with a peaceful expression. Your Highness has already tried the 3-head banquet. How about trying the spring feast today? Dou Yinshang did not nod and bow like Li Yinshang. Instead, he used the word pong more brilliantly. The spring festival banquet consists of 8 cold dishes, 11 hot dishes for delicacies, for rice dishes, 1 staple food, and fragrant tea. All ingredients are limited to spring. In this era, this delicacy is something that even an emperor would miss if he missed it. Sun Mingche is also a foodie. Catfish and lion's head, clam tofu, tune tofu rolls, shepherd's purse, and spring bamboo shoots with shredded pork, shrimp roe, and bamboo shoots. These dishes should be cooked by the same chef, right? Your Highness has a really good tongue. If your highness likes it, why not take this cook away? That would be disrespectful. It just so happens that my father also misses this Jiangnan taste. The implication is that the cook should be dedicated to the emperor. Li Yinshang glanced at Do Yinshang. Well, he worked so hard to send women money, but the flattery ended up being slapped on the horse's leg, and he was punished. Do Yinshang was suddenly entranced. Hey, that's really annoying. After the banquet, several people moved the conversation place to an open pavilion. The tea is Osmanthus Longjing, and the authentic Mingxian tea is used. The tea soup is clear and refreshing. The tea leaves have distinct roots, and the aroma is long aftertaste. Yangzhou salt merchants are more extravagant than the royal family, and their reputation is well-deserved. Do salt merchant was very enthusiastic, and Sin Mingche began to introduce the composition of the salt merchant without asking too much. Salt merchants are actually a general term and are divided into several categories. Market merchants are middlemen who purchase salt from households in designated salt farms and sell it to transporters. Transporters, also known as renters, use salt to lead to designated salt-producing areas to buy salt from traders and then sell it to designated salt-selling areas. A general merchant is a large merchant who can handle both of the above. They generally have strong capital and broad hands. These four major salt merchants are all general merchants and have their own salt farms that they are familiar with. The handover between market merchants and transport merchants is inherently the easiest to manipulate. Unlike those small salt merchants who still have to negotiate deals, for the four major salt merchants, the transportation of salt from the salt field to the right hand is left to the right, and there are more tricks in it. Like me, salt is transported to the northwest. Lao Zhang likes to go to the northeast. Lao Li's caravan shop is in the west, and the Yin family is in the south of the Yangtze River. Oh, why is the Yin family in Jiangnan? Haha, come back to your highness, because my salt is the best and most delicate. There are many rich people in the Jiangnan area, so naturally my salt sells best. Exactly, today's banquet is also made of salt from the Yin family. It turns out that I was taught. Don't dare, don't dare. Siming Che was also very kind to Do Yinshang and asked him many times. The two seemed to have a very happy conversation, but he ignored Li Yinshang. Zhang Yinshang and Yin Yinshang were making jokes on the sidelines, and the scene was very lively for a while. Your Excellency is absolutely right. His Highness, the Third Highness, really has a good attitude towards me. What he wants is to pull one and hit the other. What a beautiful idea. Exactly. How can the Third Highness compare to you? Find a way to make him think that you have surrendered to him. If necessary, you can throw something out. It's nothing to sacrifice something. You can always earn it back in the future. But if he finds out something is wrong, then there will be no future. Yes, I can't bear to let the child catch the wolf. I understand. As for the man named Li, don't think too much. We still need him to be at the front. He can't fall for the time being. Then, the Zhang family? You can handle it yourself. Little understands. Since that day, Sin Mingche seemed to have a good impression of Do Yinshang and called him many times. Li Yinshang was so angry that his teeth itched. He should have been the one showing his face. One move in chess is missing. One move in chess is missing. Li Yinshang was troubled. Mr. Do, I don't know. What's the difference between the salt produced by these salt farms? Hey, each of our families has some kitchen households, and we all have a few secret recipes for making salt. Oh, then, I wonder if you can let me go and see what this salt field looks like. Since His Highness wants to see it, of course you can. Thank you very much, Mr. Do. Come, I'll give you a toast with tea instead of wine. Don't dare, don't dare. The back of Do Yinshang's undershirt was soaked with sweat. The Third Highness first used a gentle tone to make him relax his guard, and then when he least expected it, he made a request to visit the salt field. He simply couldn't refuse. However, in the salt farm, there are problems with the quantity of salt and the accounts. The salt fields were run by civilians, government officials, merchants, and merchants. Several of them raised kitchen households and bribed officials, so the salt fields in these places had two books of accounts. A private account, it's true. A public account, is handed over to the higher authorities for inspection. And there's no way that the things in curry can match up with the public accounts. Now that King Ijuan wants to visit the salt field, he has to clear the place in advance. Damn it! Where can that much salt be transported? The expression on Do Yinshang's face remained unchanged, but he was already panicking. The other 3 salt merchants all showed more or less sarcastic expressions. Haha, it's bad luck for you to be in the limelight, right? Do Yinshang glanced over. Oh, it's true that I'm in trouble, but if I'm found out, do you think you can escape? Sun Mingche smiled and turned a blind eye to the eyes on the table. Pinch it. It's best if you pinch it. Lin Rahai smiled. Although Xiaoguan has been appointed as the salt inspector, he has not yet visited the salt field. I wonder if His Highness the County Prince would be willing to take Xiaoguan with him. That's natural. Mr. Lin is knowledgeable and elegant in conversation. It would be incredible to have this traveling companion. Your Highness is wrong. The scene warmed up for a moment. At this time, the Yellow River had not yet captured the Huai River, and the 2 Huai salt fields were located around the estuary of the Huai River. The south of the Huai River was called the Huainan Salt Fields, and the north of the Huai River was called the Huaibei Salt Fields. The Lianghuai Salt Fields are not 2 large salt fields, but are composed of hundreds of large and small salt fields. The 4 major salt merchants control almost more than half of the salt production in these salt farms, and a large amount of salt is shipped from Yangzhou to all parts of the country. Do Yinshang will definitely make some moves tonight. Send someone to keep an eye on him. I can use the people my father gave me. Sun Mingche stood in front of the window, the moonlight shining on his face. In recent years, the population of Jiangnan has been rising, but the salt tax has fallen instead of rising. In recent years, it has barely returned to the previous level. If there is nothing fishy, who would believe it? Send people to secretly check their accounts and warehouses to find the private accounts and the place where the private salt is stored. I want to see how much money they spent. But we can't take down all these salt merchants. Otherwise, large-scale salt shortages are no joke. Then, let's kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. Searching a few big salt merchants and cutting off the Zhun family's overstretched hand, my father should be satisfied. The kitchen people cut grass in the pond, burn the ashes in the polder, dry the ashes and pour the brine in the pond, and fry the salt in the pot. This should not be to fatten the brains of these big households, but for the survival of themselves and the people of this world. If one day he can reach the great treasure, he will definitely eradicate this cancer. The salt pan is located on a tidal flat on the coastline, surrounded by desolation. Very few plants can grow on land that can produce salt from the sun. There is no chemical pollution yet. The sea surface is blue and clear, with a breathtaking transparency, and waves are lapping on the shore. The salt dwellers were almost naked, wearing only a piece of cloth around their waists. They stood beside the large pot, stirring vigorously to boil the thick brine to produce salt. In fact, this is still not concentrated enough. Otherwise, the salt will naturally crystallize and can be salvaged directly. Looking at the vast polder and brine pond, the thoughts in Sun Mingche's mind gradually took shape. If the step of boiling salt could be omitted, the amount of manpower and material resources saved would be countless. Sun Mingche looked down at the ground. There are obvious signs of new paving on the road underfoot, and there are also signs of new plowing in the salt warehouse in the distance. It seems that there's a lot of salt shipped out. If the reported salt production is followed, there is no need for so many warehouses. The salt warehouse was mostly empty and clean, with some salt particles on the ground. Sun Mingche smiled, summoned his guards, and gave some instructions in a low voice. How many salt people are there here? Back to your highness, this is almost the largest salt field in Lianghuai, with a total of more than salt residents. I see that these salt people have dark skin and thin bodies. It seems they are not living a good life. There is no way. After all, we have to control the price of salt, and the price of collecting salt from salt residents cannot be too high. However, in the market, the price of 2 kilograms of grain can only be exchanged for 1 kilogram of salt. Sun Mingche said softly. Sure enough, the salt merchants are making huge profits. Your Highness, Our salt tax is also very high. Haha, but in the past 10 years, the population of Jiangnan has increased by more than but the salt tax has fallen instead of rising. Is this also because of the high salt tax? Here, there are some people who are poor and cannot afford to buy salt. Sun Mingche laughed loudly. Do you really think I'm a fool? People are poor and can't afford salt? Why don't the price of salt be too high, so the price of collecting salt is low? Good, great. Sun Mingche laughed and walked away. The guards had already arrived and detained Do, Yinshang, and others. Your Highness, what do you mean? It's unjust. We're unjust. Your Highness, you can't wrongly accuse a good person. When the salt people saw this, they were so frightened that they knelt down on the ground. Seeing their long-term exposure to strong brine, which corroded and shed their skin, Sun Mingche sighed. Whoever is covered in luo qi is not a silkworm breeder. Let them get up and let's go back to the city. The incident happened suddenly, and 4 big salt merchants were detained on the spot by Sun Mingche, along with their servants at the same time. Their mansions were also surrounded. For a while, the streets were cleared and the city was silent. No one dared to go out. Your Highness, what does this mean? Zhang Jia hurried over and asked earnestly. Sun Mingche slowly looked away from the book in his hand and smiled slightly. Master Zhang, we finally meet. Your Highness, Master Zhang, as a Jiangnan weaver, you have nothing to do with salt politics. At this point, it's better not to talk too much. Zhang Jia was stunned. How many years has it been since no one dared to talk to him like this? How dare this yellow-tongued kid? He is the prince. Yes, this kid is a prince. Zhang Jia gritted her teeth secretly, seemingly sincerely. Your Highness, the 4 major salt merchants are responsible for half of the salt industry in Jiangnan. It may affect the price of salt in Jiangnan. Once there is a salt shortage, there may be civil unrest. Sun Mingche tapped the account book in his hand with a smile. It's not impossible to tolerate mercy outside the law. It's just that if you eat something from me, you have to spit out for me. Only then did Zhang Jia notice that there were piles of ledgers piled high in the room, with different colors. Of course it's a private account. Sun Mingche smiled. If you want people not to know, unless you don't do it yourself. Zhang Jia's pupils shrank suddenly. How did Princey get it? A salt merchant's private account book is almost as important as their life. Where did he get such great ability? He took the thing in his hands without any trouble. Could it be that it is the Emperor? Alarm bells rang in Zhang Jia's heart. How did your Highness? Okay, the official made a mistake. Zhang Jia bowed with difficulty and retreated. He needs to quickly discuss countermeasures with his second brother. If the salt merchant who worked closely with their family was taken down, then the Zhen family will be in bad luck. Looking at Zhang Jia's hastily leaving, a sneer escaped from the corner of Sun Mingche's lips. Are you afraid? Starting to panic? Where is this going? The good show is still to come. That night, Emperor Qian opened a secret folder sent by Sun Mingche from Yangzhou. Yangzhou salt merchants and the Zhang family colluded with each other, mixed public interests with private interests, sold on a large scale, and made profits of more than 1 million. Expressed the salt people and raised the price of salt. The Zhang family annexed the land, sold their official positions, bullied men and women, and even poisoned the court officials. Evidence, I don't dare to be good at it. Along with the secret documents came a thick stack of account books, evidence signed by multiple parties, and a living witness. The more Emperor Qian looked at it, the more he frowned. The Zhang family has betrayed the emperor's favor and acted wantonly, preying on the common people and begging for his majesty's decree. Zhang family. The emperor knew that the Zhang family was powerful, but the emperor did not expect that the Zhang family was really so courageous. The Zhang family has committed many crimes, and they should be punished. But wet nurse. Emperor Qin gently rubbed his temples, picked up the teacup, and sipped slowly. After a long while, he picked up his pen and wrote down his answer. Finally, give them another chance. Your Majesty, it's time to turn the cards. Go back. This is what I mean by not flipping the sign today. By the way, concubine Zhun, the Zhun family. I hope they will just accept it when they see fit. Jiangnan. Yangzhou. There was silence in Yangzhou City, but this silence was not deathly silence, but the silence of an undercurrent like a deep river. How many were found? Salt triggered 370 million deaths this year, but the existing salt can no longer match the number. How much more? 100,000 quotes. It's not even April yet. Okay, that's great. What a great way to deceive superiors and hide from subordinates. You can use private accounts and public accounts to find out how much salt is wrong. Your Highness, because time is tight, we only check the accounts of the 4 major salt merchants in the past 3 years. There was a total difference of 970 yuan. The difference in silver is about 650 million yuan. The entire country's annual tax revenue is only 2,000 million taels. The 4 major salt merchants in Lianghuai sold more than 650 million yuan of private salt within 3 years. That's 1/10 of a country's tax revenue in 1 year. Great, really great. Which one has the most? The Dou family. How many? About half. Half. Sun Mingche was startled. It seems that the Dou family and the Zhen family have colluded. Otherwise, how could you get so much? The Dou family can be ransacked. If anyone is greedy when searching the house, please watch your head and behave yourself. Do you understand? As ordered, the remaining 3 families. Let them pay back the money at 3 times the price of salt, or else they will have their homes confiscated. My subordinates will inform you immediately. Tonight, there is no sleep in Yangzhou. Brother, you have to save your brother. In the study, Zhang Inca looked at his brother, Zhen Ingjia, nervously. Brother, this money is not for my own use. It is for our family. You can't ignore me at this time. Zhen Ingjia frowned. Don't worry, I can't ignore you. Besides, although Princey is a prince, he is still just a prince. Do you understand? The only one who can deal with us is the emperor. Princey doesn't have the guts to kill him first and tell him later. Zheninka was still obviously anxious. But your majesty, Zhenningjia waved her hand. Don't forget, our mother is still alive, and there is a pregnant mother in the palace. But she is greedy for money and does not delay things. The emperor will not deal with it too harshly. However, remember to tell the younger generations at home to restrain themselves during this period. Now is not the time for them to show off their power. Do you understand? Brother, are you really going to be okay? Don't worry. However, our family has to keep its tail between its legs during this period of time. Yes, brother, I understand. I will restrain these boys in my family. At this time, it would be wrong to say anything. All we can do is wait. The Zhen family is waiting for a result. The Dou family is also waiting. The small ear room was crowded with the female relatives of the family. Listening to the commotion outside, everyone's face was full of confusion. Old lady, what's going on? Mrs. Dou asked softly. Mrs. Dou forced herself to calm down. Don't panic. After all, even those things don't involve the elderly, weak, women, and children. Mrs. Dou had tears in her eyes, holding her daughter tightly with one hand, and holding Mrs. Dou's wrinkled hand tightly with the other, as if she wanted to draw strength from it. Mom, Grandma, I'm afraid. Bower, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Several concubines were crowded together like a nest of chickens. Their aunts are not here, but in the backyard, and they don't know what the situation is. Seeing the deep love between the legitimate daughter and the legitimate mother, I feel panic and envy at the same time. Don't you have a good relationship with the Zhen family? Our family is like this. Could it be that the Zhen family doesn't help? Mrs. Dou smiled bitterly. What's going on with the Zhen family? And what's going on with our family? Our family is just their pawns. If we abandon them, we'll abandon them. Now, I can only ask the adults above to be kind and let us go free and not be sold into slavery. Mrs. Dou covered her mouth, wanting to cry but not daring to cry, tears welling up in her eyes. How is this good? Madame Dou sighed. Wait slowly. Don't panic. Don't scare yourself to death before you wait for the result. What will happen to your children? The Dou family's once colorful garden was in chaos. The warehouse door was wide open, and soldiers were coming and going in an orderly manner, with a few counting sounds coming from time to time. 10 boxes of silver, worth 1 taels. Remember, Coral Head has a different face. Remember, there's a pure gold guanine statue, 1 foot and 8 minutes high. Remember, a pink pearl shirt. Remember, there are 6 gold plates, a total of 1,200 taels. Remember, a 3-color jadeite, carved mountain stone ornament. Remember, the books that were copied from the house were piled up into a hill, and all kinds of gold, silver, pearls, and jade were put in boxes and hung to dry in the sky, making them dazzling. Ha ha! It made me laugh so hard. They were still thinking of playing Tai Chi with His Highness. Who would have thought that His Highness would immediately cut the firewood, check the account books first, and then seal the warehouse, which caught them off guard? Xiaoxian laughed loudly. Zhongzhou was also cheerful. Your Highness can be said to have achieved a great victory this time. With this account book, we have already uncovered a lot of moths. It's a pity that we can't do anything about the biggest borer. Lu Buohong sighed softly. Sun Mingche smiled and waved his hand. It's okay. Father's decree is to reprimand Zhan Yingjia, take away her official position, and make her reflect at home. The Zhen family should be able to live with their tail between their legs for quite some time. Lu Buohong thought of something. Your Highness, something happened in Yangzhou. Are you going to Jinling? Good. I remember that when His Majesty visited the south of the Yangtze River, the Zhen family built a garden for His Majesty in Jinling. Zhongzhou slapped his hands. I remembered that my father told me that the garden was particularly artistic and so on. Xiaoxian nodded. It seems that His Majesty has given permission for the Zhen family to live in the garden. Yes, because these places have not been inhabited for a long time, and when they lose their popularity, they deteriorate very quickly. Therefore, His Majesty has allowed the Zhen family to live in the garden and be responsible for its care and maintenance. Then, when we go to Jinling this time, should we also stay there? Xiaoxian blinked. After all, His Majesty asked Our Highness to see the places he has been to. The four looked at each other. Okay, I just offended someone completely, and I'm about to live in someone else's house again. How about being so sarcastic? Zhongzhou slapped his thigh. Hey, what are you afraid of? What can the Zhen family do to Our Highness? The distinction between monarch and minister is no joke. Exactly. Well said. After all, Sun Mingche had bared his fangs and made these local officials and wealthy people in Jiangnan realize that he was not a child who could be fooled at will, but the brave and resourceful third prince of Dagon, Prince Yi. Sun Mingche himself only inspected a few salt merchants, but the account books of collusion between officials and businessmen, as well as evidence of collusion between certain officials and the Zhen family, were all handed over to the emperor. It can be seen that in the near future, the Jiangnan area will probably undergo a major blood change. Those who have made mistakes must be in panic all day long, trying every possible means to keep their official positions. There are still some people who should be thinking about how to save their heads. So it is conceivable that their attitude towards Sun Mingche should be respectful, even fearful. The only thing he has to worry about is whether those who want to take advantage of others will come up with some crooked ways, such as giving money and women, which will cause trouble for him. Your Highness doesn't need that money now, let alone those women. But what if they send antique paintings and calligraphy, or something like that? Then I will keep it and present it to my father when I return to the capital. Your Highness, this move of yours is really damaging. That's right. If you do this, no one will dare to give you gifts in the future. I can't wait to do it. Everyone doesn't do their job properly and thinks about these crooked things all day long. Your Highness is upright. I admire you. Zhongzhou bowed in an exaggerated manner, and everyone burst into laughter. After dealing with matters in Yangzhou, the remaining time is just for sightseeing. Not to mention, the lakes, mountains, pavilions in the south of the Yangtze River are really refreshing under the bright spring light. We traveled all the way to Jinling, and before we even got off the boat, we saw a group of people at the pier, all local officials from Jinling, waiting to greet Sun Mingche. Join His Majesty the County Prince. Retire without courtesy. Everyone exchanged pleasantries again. Zhan Yingjia should have been among the people who greeted him. After all, he was from Jiangnan Weaving and a confidant of the emperor. But just not long ago, Sun Mingche personally took him down, and now he wants to live in the garden that his family looks after. This scene is very embarrassing, but these officials are all experienced. No matter how embarrassed they will not show it on their faces. Everyone is smiling along the way. When they arrived at Zhen's house, everyone in the Zhen family was already waiting in front of the door. No matter what I think in my heart, my face is always beaming with joy. The next step is to hold a banquet, which can be regarded as a welcome banquet. This is the most luxurious banquet that Sun Mingche has seen since he came to Jiangnan. Everyone has a separate meal system. That is, each person has a small table and sits separately. In the middle is a performance venue, singing, dancing, and opera, etc. It is lively. First of all, the person who served the food stretched his voice and shouted, "Look at the 3 dishes presented." There were 2 rows of maids in pink clothes, holding plates and placing them on the table one after another. After tea time, the 2 groups of maids came again and took away the plates one by one. Repeat this 3 times. What are the things that come up every time? Fruit carvings and dough sculptures. The first plate is prosperity and peace. The second plate is a cluster of flowers. The third set is about thousands of miles of country. These 3 dishes are called watching dishes. What do you mean? As the name suggests, it is for you to see, not to eat. Ornamental one-time crafts. Still 3 sets per person. After 3 plates of food were served, there was another long shout. Sign it. What is this sign? It's all kinds of side dishes. There are all kinds of pickles, kimchi, candied fruits, pickles, salty, sour, and sweet, a total of more than 10 dishes. After taking a few bites, the waiter yelled again. The first lot has been presented. Let's serve the cold dishes. Then there were 18 plates of vegetarian cold dishes, followed by 18 plates of meat and cold dishes. They are all served on small plates, enough for 2 or 3 bites. There are a variety of vegetarian dishes, many of which Sun Mingche has never even seen. Meat dishes include beef, mutton, venison, donkey, chicken, duck, fish, and river seafood, but there is no pork. After eating a few bites, I took it down and then served porridge and water. There are 24 bowls of porridge per person, and each bowl is different. There are 24 small floured porcelain bowls as big as a palm, all served neatly. Millet porridge, white porridge, pumpkin porridge, 8 treasure porridge, preserved egg, lean meat porridge, seafood porridge. There are all kinds of sweet and salty ones. If you want to eat a bowl, just look at it and there will be a maid serving you, holding a spoon to your mouth. The porridge is gone and the wine is served. This wine is all made by the Zhen family themselves. There are 24 kinds in total, 8 kinds of red wine, 8 kinds of white wine, and 8 kinds of yellow wine. Each wine also has to be paired with a different glass. For red wine alone, there are 8 different types of cups, including crystal cups, colored glass cups, and white jade cups. There are also bronze wine glasses that go with the liquor. Several of them look like antiques. Everyone picks up the wine they like and keeps it, while the rest is taken away. Then the hot dishes are served. 18 plates of hot dishes were served at a time, 4 rounds in total. While eating, someone introduced how the dish was made, what ingredients were used, and how long it took. Just talking about a winter melon cup, in addition to choosing winter melon carvings, the soup base must be old chickens and ducks that are more than 3 years old. Each cup of soup must be cooked separately, and 3 bowls must be boiled to make 1 bowl. Scallops, etc. must also be placed in it. Freshen up. Even the seasoning is not salt, but the juice steamed from Jinhua ham. Sun Mingche's eyes were open this time. Such extravagant spending has never been seen before. After the hot dishes, there are soups, and there are 18 kinds of soups. I ate like this until the middle of the moon. There are so many things, so varied and dizzying. On the contrary, he, a prince from the capital, was made into a country bumpkin. The Zhen family's extravagance is well-deserved. This kind of behavior was probably restrained after being reprimanded by the emperor. Where did the Zhen family get so much money to maintain such a luxurious life? Of course, it's money fished out of salt. But now, the hand that reached out to Yin Zhengli was cut off by him. The Zhen family probably hates him to death. But now he still has to receive him with a high-standard banquet. Humph! I just like to see how you can't stand me, but can't kill me, haha. The next day, Sin Ming-che went to visit the old lady of the Zhen family. Zhen Yingjia accompanied him. The last time I saw Zhen Yingjia, he was still a high-ranking member of the party, but now he was white. However, Zhen Yingjia pretended to be very good. At least she didn't have any resentment on the surface, smiling and looking respectful. The old lady is not young now, is she? Go back to your highness. My mother is now 69 years old. Oh, Mrs. Zhen should be celebrating her birthday this year. When the elderly wish to celebrate their birthdays, they should not exceed 9, but not 10, so they have a long-lasting meaning. Exactly, my mother's birthday falls within these few days. I hope your highness will appreciate it. Oh, I didn't know it yet. Now that I know it, I naturally want to congratulate the old lady on her birthday. After all, Mrs. Zhen was the wet nurse of his emperor father. Judging from the emperor's attitude towards her, Sin Ming-che had to be polite. It's not because of the Zhen family, but because of the emperor's father's face. Mrs. Zhen is somewhat similar to Mrs. Jia. They are both old ladies of the same age. They are well-maintained. Although the skin is sagging, there are not many wrinkles and there are no spots on her face. She is fair and rosy, a little fat, smiling, and looks very good. He looks kind and kind. I have met His Royal Highness Prince E. Madam, please get up quickly. Sin Ming-che quickly helped Mrs. Zhen up with her own hands and did not let her kneel down to kowtow. I would like to thank your highness. It's okay. Sin Ming-che waved his hand and sat down in the guest seat. The maid beside him immediately served him tea. In the huge hall, the 3 rooms of the Zhen family gathered together, men, women, old and young, all smiling, looking natural and respectful. Even the parents of that bastard Zhenheng were present. Mrs. Zhen San looks much thinner and her clothes are a little empty, but the smile on her face is still impeccable. Haha, I wonder if they have guessed that Zhenheng became a useless person because of his doing. Come on, Bao Yu, come and see His Highness. Mrs. Zhen cheerfully held a 5 or 6-year-old boy in front of her and asked him to salute Sin Ming-che. The 5 or 6-year-old child is fair and tender, with a pair of big black eyes, a small nose and mouth, and is dressed in a beautiful dress. His 2 fat little fleshy hands are folded together in a bow, and he looks very cute. Jin Baoyu has met His Highness. Is this the real Jim? Sin Ming-che pulled him closer with one hand and looked him up and down. He is a very delicate and lovely child, very similar to Jia Baoyu. Sin Ming-che slowed down his tone and asked Jin Baoyu a few questions. Jin Baoyu speaks clearly and answers fluently, appearing to be very precocious. The Jia family in Rongwa Prefecture also has a Baoyu. It is said that he was born with a piece of beautiful jade the size of a pigeon egg, so he named the child Baoyu. It's a coincidence that it goes south and north. Sin Ming-che didn't see anything from Zhen Baoyu, so he casually took off his purse and rewarded him, and said to Mrs. Zhen with a smile, "The Zhen family and the Jia family have been close relatives for many generations, and it is fate that their grandchildren also have a precious jade." Mrs. Zhen asked Zhen Baoyu to stand beside her, and she obviously loved her. He's indeed a good boy. But what books did he read? Back to your highness. I've just started studying the 4 books. Okay, study hard and get your name on the gold list another day. Zhen Baoyu pursed her lips and lowered her head. Yes, it seems that this person is the same as Jia Baoyu, who despises economic and official career as a vulgar thing. Mrs. Zhen introduced several other children and grandchildren of the Zhen family to Sin Ming-che. They all look dignified, but who knows what kind of dirty intestines are inside. The Zhen family is very unclean. However, Sin Ming-che was still very polite on the surface and met them one by one, matching their names with each other in his heart. Oh, this is lending money for profit, forcing people to buy and sell their children, and even force people to death. Well, that one was very fond of gold and stone antiques. Every time he fell in love with them, he would try every means to get them back, forcing several families to be ruined. Ha! This hobby is relatively common. It is so beautiful, but I only like young people and I have killed a lot of people in my hands. And these crimes have been investigated and recorded one by one. However, the emperor does not deal with the Zhen family. and Sin Mingche cannot do anything to these people. But this does not prevent him from keeping accounts. The original evidence was delivered to the current emperor, but Sin Mingche still had a copy in his hand. In the future, he will have to settle the matter with the Zhun family together with the capital and profits. Therefore, although on the surface the people in the hall were polite and happy, in fact Sin Mingche had already thought about how he wanted them to die. The girls of the Zhun family also stood in a row behind Mrs. Zhun. It was very meaningful to introduce these girls to Sin Mingche. After all, nowadays, girls from big families are supposed to be raised in a boudoir where no one knows them. Such an introduction was intended to send people to him. This behavior can be regarded as a test by the Zhun family, and it is also an act of goodwill. But, forget it, it's enough to have a girl from the Jia family in his backyard. He doesn't want another girl from the Zhun family. Otherwise, his dear princess would be in trouble. The two sides blew a wave of rainbow farts at each other. Seeing that Sin Mingche did not focus on any girl from the Zhun family, Mrs. Zhun knew that this road would not work. She felt very sorry. From Mrs. Zhun's point of view, although the Zhun family suffered a big disaster this time, Sin Mingche cannot be blamed, and on the contrary, she felt that this was a good time for the Zhun family to step back. The Zhun family should take a step back, be quiet, and train the next generation. After all, there is still a queen in the palace, and there will be a prince or princess in the future. The Zhun family will definitely not decline completely. As long as the children and grandchildren in the family study hard and take exams in the future, the Zhun family will surely be able to slowly grow up. When the time comes, the brothers in the family will support each other and will definitely be more stable than they are now. Mrs. Zhun is the real anchor of this family. She knows that the current prosperity and wealth of the Zhun family is actually tied to her alone. It is the current emperor who still remembers his childhood affection that has repeatedly shown favor to the Zhun family. Once she dies, or her love is exhausted, or even the person on the throne is changed, the Zhun family will definitely be the first to be operated on based on the current Shuana family. It's a pity that although Mrs. Zhun understood it, her children and grandchildren actually failed to live up to expectations. For example, the current head of the Zhun family is Zhun Yingjia. Sin Mingche turned the Jiangnan area upside down from north to south. On the other side, the boat carrying Lin Daiyu also arrived in the capital. Along the way, Lin Daiyu fell ill several times, which inevitably delayed the trip. Therefore, when we arrived in the capital, it was already March. After all, the capital is located in the north. Even if spring has begun, it will be colder and drier than spring in the south. Therefore, Lin Daiyu inevitably coughed. Rongguafu can also be regarded as the home of bells and dishes, and its rules and styles are indescribable. Lin Daiyu should have felt uneasy, but she couldn't help but think of His Highness the third prince she saw on the ship. A person like His Highness is infinitely more noble than the Rong mansion, but he still treats her with ease and gentleness. Besides, His Highness the Third Highness also said that the rules in Ning Rong's second mansion were quite chaotic, and he wanted her to be careful. Therefore, Daiyu became more cautious in her words and deeds, and relied more on her wet nurse, and the maid Shuyan she brought with her. I didn't think of Ronghua Mansion as a higher priority in my heart. Abandoning the boat and landing, Daiyu got on the sedan chair. When she entered the city, she looked out through the screen window and saw that the bustling streets and the crowds of people were different from other places. When they arrived at the Ronghua Mansion, they changed into a small sedan again, and all the ladies stepped down to follow them, and landed in front of the hanging flower door. The boys left, and the women came up to open the sedan curtain and help Daiyu get out of the sedan. After passing the hanging flower door, bypassing the floor-to-ceiling marble screen, there are 3 small halls, and behind the hall is the main courtyard at the back. In the 5 upper rooms in the front, on the platform, there were several maids in red and green sitting. When they saw them coming, they all rushed to greet them with smiles and said, "The old lady was reading just now, but by chance they came." So 3 or 4 people scrambled to open the curtain cage, while someone heard someone reply, "Miss Lin is here." When Daiyu entered the room, she saw 2 people holding an old lady with silver-colored hair coming towards her. Daiyu knew it was her grandmother. When Fong wanted to pay her respects, her grandmother had already hugged her into her arms, and she started to cry loudly, calling her heart and soul. Everyone standing underground covered their faces and wept. Dayu was so moved that she couldn't stop crying. For a while, everyone slowly calmed down, and Dai Yufeng paid a visit to her grandmother. At that moment, Jiamu pointed everyone in the hall to Dayu one by one. This is your eldest aunt. This is your second aunt. This is sister-in-law Zhu, the daughter-in-law of your elder brother Xianju. Dayu visited them one by one. Jiamu then said, "Please come, girls. The guests from far away are here today, so you don't have to go to school." Everyone agreed and went to two. After a while, I saw 3 nannies and 5 or 6 maids surrounding the 3 sisters. They are 3, welcoming spring, exploring spring, and appreciating spring. Their hairpin rings, skirts, and coats are all the same decoration. Dayu hurriedly stood up and came to greet them. After acknowledging each other, everyone returned to sit down. The maids poured tea. During the conversation, they just talked about how Dayu's mother got sick, how she sought medical treatment and took medicine, and how she died and mourned. Unavoidably, Jia's mother became sad again, because she said, "My children, the only one who loves me is your mother. If you leave me today, I will never be able to see you again. How can I not be sad when I see you now?" As he said this, he hugged Dayu and started sobbing again. Everyone was busy explaining with relief, and Feng Luo stopped. We chatted for a while, just asking Dayu how she was and what medicine she was taking. Before he could finish his words, he heard someone laughing in the backyard and saying, "I came late and didn't greet the guests from afar." Dayu wondered in her heart. All of these people are holding their voices and holding their breath, so solemn and solemn. Who is this person, so rude and disrespectful? While I was thinking about it, I saw a group of wives and maids surrounding a person coming in from the back door. This person is dressed differently from the other sisters, with brilliant embroidery, and looks like a concubine or a fairy. It was Wang Shifeng. When Dayu saw it, her heart skipped a beat. You must know that Dayu's mother was a girl from the Jia family. Even if she died, the younger generation of the Jia family would still have to mourn for as little as 3 months or as much as a year. Not to mention wearing linen and mourning, you should also wear some plain clothes. But the person wearing red and green obviously didn't take it seriously. Not only did he not take Jiamin seriously, he also didn't take Dayu seriously. Both sides have met. Wang Shifeng held Dayu's hand, smiled warmly, and looked kind. However, Dayu had a knot in her heart, and her expression was always indifferent, and she couldn't get close to her. After a while, Jia's mother ordered 2 old ladies to take Dayu to meet her 2 maternal uncles. Jiaxi made excuses for not seeing her, so Dayu went to see Jiazheng. When they arrived at Rongxi Hall, the old woman led Dayu to the 3 small main rooms in the east corridor. There is a Kong table across the Kong table in front, with books and tea sets on it. Against the east wall facing the west, there are half-worn blue satin back pillows. Mrs. Wang was sitting at the lower end of the west side, also on a half-worn green satin mattress with backrest. Mrs. Wang was very kind and asked Dayu to sit next to her, giving her earnest instructions. "Your uncle is fasting today. Goodbye. I just want to tell you, your 3 sisters are all very good. From now on, I will give in to reading, learning needlework, or even the occasional joke. But the thing I'm worried about most is that I have a troublemaker, the Devil King, in my family. He went to the temple today to fulfill his vows and hasn't come back yet. You will know when you see him in the evening. You just don't need to pay attention to him in the future. You none of these sisters dare to mess with him." Dayu then knew that Mrs. Wang was talking about Baoyu. Her mother had also told her about this man when he was a child. He was born with a jade in his mouth. He was very naughty and hated reading. He liked to hang out in the closet. His grandmother was very doting and had no one dare to take care. Auntie is talking about this brother who was born by Xinyu. When I was at home, I heard my mother often say that this brother is 1 year older than me, and his nickname is Baoyu. Although he is very naive, he is said to be extremely affectionate in the relationship between sisters. Okay, besides, since I'm here, I'll naturally only stay with my sisters. The brothers are from another house, so why should I mess with them?" Mrs. Wang smiled and said, You don't know why. He is different from others. He was loved by the old lady since he was a child, and he was spoiled by the sisters. He talks sweetly at one moment and is crazy at the other. Crazy, stupid, don't trust him. Dayu agreed one by one, feeling sad. After all, it's not our home anymore. I saw a maid coming back. The old lady has sent dinner. Mrs. Wang hurriedly took Dayu there. Most of the dishes on the table are from the capital city, and most of them are soft and rotten in consideration of Jiamu. Dayu had a bumpy ride, felt unwell, and had a slight cough. Naturally, she had no appetite, but she moved her chopsticks a few times, and that was all. After the meal, each maid brought tea on a small tea tray. That day, Lin Rahai taught her daughter to cherish blessings and maintain her health. She said that she should wait until the rice is gone after a meal and drink tea after a while, so as not to hurt the spleen and stomach. But now that Dayu saw that many things here were not in line with her family style, she had to adapt and change them one by one. Jiamu asked Dayu what book she was reading. Dayu said, "I just read the 4 books." Dayu asked her sisters what books they should read. Jiamu said, "What kind of book are you reading?" I just recognized 2 words, not a blind man who opens his eyes. Just as he was talking, he heard the sound of footsteps outside, and the maid came in and said with a smile, "Baoyu is here." Suddenly, before the maid finished her report, a young gentleman came in, dressed in red and green, and resplendent in gold and jade. He was born extremely well, with a face like the mid-autumn moon, color like a spring dawn flower, temples like a knife cut, eyebrows like ink paintings, face like peach petals, and eyes like autumn waves. I saw this Baoyu greeting Jiamu, and Jiamu ordered, "Go and see your mother." Baoyu turned around and went away. When he came back, he looked again and saw that he had changed his crown and belt. Jiamuin laughed and said, "You took off your clothes before seeing the foreigner, and you didn't go to see your sister." Baoyu had already seen that there was an extra sister, so he guessed that she was Aunt Lin's daughter and came to bow to her. Looking up, she met Dayu's eyes. Dayu's heart moved, and she felt that the other party was somewhat familiar. Baoyu burst into laughter immediately. "I have seen this sister before." Jiamu laughed and said, "That's nonsense again. How have you ever seen him?" Baoyu laughed and said, "Although I've never met him before, I look at Mian-shan, and I feel like an old acquaintance in my heart. It's okay to just reunite after a long distance today." Jiamu smiled and said, Better. If so, we will be more harmonious." Baoyu walked up to Dayu and sat down. He looked at her carefully and asked, "Has my sister ever studied?" Dayu looked him up and down, then suddenly smiled and said, "I have read the 4 books and 5 classics. Although I haven't explained them in detail, I can already memorize them." Baoyu immediately frowned and shook his head. "Sister, who is such a person? Why should she study economic and career stuff like me and other men?" Dayu only pursed her lips and smiled without answering. Baoyu asked again, "What are the 2 words of my sister's honorable name?" Dayu said the name. Baoyu asked enthusiastically again, "Does my sister also have jade?" Everyone was puzzled by his words, so Dayu thought that, because he had jade, she asked me if I had it. I wanted to just reply to him like this, but suddenly I remembered the jade lock that I used to protect myself, so I smiled and said, "But what kind of jade is it?" "I don't have one like you, but I do have one that looks different." Baoyu immediately became excited and clamored to see it. He even took off his jade from the collar and wanted to wear it interchangeably with Dayu. "Is this okay?" There was no need for Dayu to refuse, so Jiamu pretended to be fierce. "Nonsense. How can your lifeblood be changed? Just let your sister see it." Baoyu quickly put his piece of psychic jade into Dayu's hand and asked to see Dayu's jade lock. Dayu was so troubled by him that she had no choice but to turn her back, untie the jade lock from the collar, and hand it to Baoyu. Baoyu held the jade lock in his palm, looked at it carefully, and was full of praise. "Only such a beautiful jade can be worthy of someone like my sister." Dayu smiled and said, "It turns out that my father has some friendship with His Highness the Third. Because I was frail and sick when I was a child, His Highness sent this to me to save my life. Strangely enough, since I put this on, I have become less sick." Everyone wanted to take a look, So the maid next to Jia Mu held up the jade lock with a handkerchief and walked around the hall. Such a piece of beautiful jade, coupled with such carving, is really rare. Good jade nourishes people, and people also nourish jade. That's right. Only someone like Sister Lin can compliment such a beautiful jade. Balyu clapped his hands and laughed. It shows that my sister and I are destined to have this thing. None of my sisters at home have this thing, but I only have it. I think it's boring. Now here comes this fairy-like sister who has this thing. Everyone laughed and said that he was talking like a child. Your jade was brought from the womb, and your sister's jade was given by the royal family. Can it be the same? Balyu immediately became coquettish and crazy. Dayu couldn't help but think of her younger brother at home. When his younger brother was 3 years old, he got seriously ill. Originally, the family thought that his younger brother couldn't survive it, so they even prepared a small coffin. But they didn't know what kind of medicine was used, and Didi actually breathed a sigh of relief. Now my brother has grown up successfully, but his body is still weak. Both siblings are like this and need to take medicine every day. But even a younger brother would not behave like this in front of his elders. It seems that Brother Bao is really spoiled by the elders of the Jia family. After some more banter, the wet nurse came to ask about Dayu's house. I'll put you, Miss Lin, in the blue gauze cupboard temporarily. When the winter is over and it's warmer, we can tidy up the house with them and make other arrangements. Jiamu said. On the one hand, Shifeng ordered someone to send a lotus-colored flower tent and several brocade quilts and satin mattresses. Jiamu saw that Dayu had only brought 2 people with her. One was Grandma Wang, who had been her nanny since childhood, and the other was a 10-year-old girl who had been with her since childhood, named Xuan. The old one is old, and the young one is young. It can be seen that Lin Rahai was very worried about the Jia family and made such an arrangement. In this case, Jiamu thought for a while and gave Dayu a second-class girl named Ingu to be her servant. That night, Dayu, Grandma Wang, Xuan, and Inga slept in the Bisha kitchen, while Baoyu, Nanny Li, and Shiren slept outside the Bisha kitchen. Bisha kitchen is a partition installed indoors, which is equivalent to dividing a house into 2.5 rooms. Therefore, Baoyu and Dayu actually lived in a large room, separated only by hollow doors. The doors were covered with a layer of green gauze, and each other's every move could be seen. Baoyu was so excited that he looked up from time to time, but because I was tired from playing during the day, I fell asleep soon. But Dayu couldn't sleep for a long time. She sat on the bedside and stared at the candlelight in a daze. Miss, go to bed quickly. Be careful and sleep well the next day. Grandma Wang held Dayu in her arms, patted her gently, and whispered, I cannot sleep. Grandma Wang sighed and hummed a Jiangnan tune in a low voice. Miss, at least close your eyes. How can you sleep with your eyes open? Even if you can't fall asleep, it's good to close your eyes and rest your mind. Maybe you'll just fall asleep. Dayu also sighed. I wonder what happened to my father and brother. Shuiyin whispered. Miss, you are thinking of the master and the young master, and the master and the young master must also be thinking of you. Just for them, you must take good care of your health. Yes, Dayu murmured. It's time to sleep. Seeing this, the parrot quickly blew out the candle. Dayu closed her eyes and had various thoughts in her mind. She was born precocious and was raised as a man by her father and mother. She had already read the 4 books and 5 classics at a young age. She had her own problems in her heart and could not be treated like an ordinary little daughter. In her opinion, the rules at her grandmother's house were not strict. On the contrary, they should be said to be quite loose. Baoyu, in particular, was so pampered that he didn't have the slightest bit of rigidity of a man. At the age when he should be studying, he still behaved like a child. Fortunately, Baoyu's character is innocent and natural, and she doesn't pretend to be pretentious. Although she is a little childish, her purity makes her worth getting along with. It's just that Baoyu was probably spoiled since he was a child and had a rather selfish personality. He never thought of others and instead asked others to give way. Dayu is also the only daughter in the family. She was raised pampered and still can't stand it. I don't know what will happen to the 2 of them in the future. Unexpectedly, within a few days, something unexpected happened. Dayu got up the next day and went to see Mrs. Jia because she was visiting Mrs. Wang. While Mrs. Wang and Shifeng were reading letters from Jinling, Mrs. Wang's brother and sister-in-law sent 2 more daughters-in-law to talk to them. Although Yu didn't know the whole story, Tanshun and others knew that they were talking about the Shui family who lived in Jinling City. But what happened to the Shui family? It turned out that because Mingche went to the south of the Yangtze River to patrol on behalf of the emperor, the Jinling area was patrolled and martial law was enforced early, and there was no incident of Shui Pan fighting Tabai, Xiangling, and killing Feng Yuan. However, Zhen Heng, the 3rd bedroom son of the Zhen family, was manipulated by Mingche and turned into a useless person. Zhen Heng is as old as Mingche. He has not yet been married, let alone has any children. Now he is living like a flesh worm. He cannot see, speak, write, and is inhumane. It can be said that life is worse than death. The Zhen family then thought about arranging a marriage for him, having a wife to take care of him, and adopting a son in his name in the future, so that he would have someone to rely on and would not be extinct. Relying on the power of the Zhen family in Jinling, this was not a big deal in the first place. If the wind is released, there will be people who are willing to use their daughters to cling to the rich and powerful. They will offer their daughters to serve as a widow for the rest of their lives. Useless person. But who would have thought that even at this point, the Zhen family's vision is still very high, and they want to find a serious girl who has a decent family background and a good personality and appearance. Jinling is so big. The Zhen family searched around and found it on top of the Shui family. Okay, he is a legitimate descendant. He was originally from a high family, but now he is still rich, and the girl's character and appearance are also of the highest quality. He is a bit young, but he has a stable and generous personality and is able to take on tasks. Exactly. Anyway, I didn't come here to give birth to children for Zhen Heng. What should I be afraid of when I'm younger? Being able to manage a household and be able to do things well is the most important thing. Aunt Shui learned that her daughter was attracted by the Zhen family, and when she wanted to give it to Zhen Heng, who was already dead, the Zhen family got Shui Baochai's horoscope from the temple, where their family had placed a name talisman for Shui Baochai. Aunt Shui was struck by thunder and fell onto the couch, almost fainting. When Shui Pan learned about this, he was furious. He slapped the table and wanted to fight the Zhen family. I don't believe it. How could they have robbed my sister? Although Shui Pan is a mixed person, he has one good thing. He protects his own shortcomings and loves his own mother and sisters very much. Although Shui Baochai was usually steady and generous, she couldn't help but panic when such a lifelong matter was presented to her, and her round little face turned pale. Aunt Shui endured her panic and persuaded her children to stop. Good boy, I know you love your sister, and our family is not one that wants to use their daughter to gain wealth. It's just that the Zhen family is quite powerful, so we can't go head-on with her. Saying that, Aunt Shui thought again. Okay, let's go to Beijing and join your uncle. It turns out that Aunt Shui was Wang Ziding's younger sister and later married into the Shui family. The relationship between the two families has never been severed, and the Shui family's current business is thanks to Wang Ziding's support. At that time, Wang Ziding was the military governor of the Beijing camp and was considered a high official. That night, Aunt Shui, together with Baochai and Shui Pan, quietly packed up their things, put them in their own truck and boat, and quietly left Jinling and headed north to the capital. When the Jin family learned about this, it was already 3 days later, and they were immediately furious that I wanted to catch him on the clippers. But Mingche's identity happened to be revealed in Yangzhou, so I had to restrain myself. Only then did the Shui family escape. When Shui Pan was about to enter the capital that day, he heard that his uncle Wang Ziding had been promoted to the governor of 9 provinces, and he was ordered to go out of the capital to inspect the border. So Shui Pan and Aunt Shui discussed it and decided to come to Jia's house. At that time, Mrs. Wang saw that her brother had been promoted to a minor position, and she was worried about the lack of contact with relatives from her mother's family, which made her feel a little lonely. That I also heard about the forced marriage of the Zhen family and the defection of the Shui family, and I felt anxious. Finally, when the Shui family arrived in the capital, a post was delivered to their door. Mrs. Wang was so happy that she hurriedly took her daughter-in-law and others out of the hall and took Aunt Shui and others in. When sisters meet in their later years, it is needless to say that they share joys and sorrows and share stories of laughter and tears. Busy, he invited Jia's mother to see her again and offered various favors and gifts. I have seen the servants together, and they are busy preparing the banquet to catch the wind. Jia Zheng, Jia Mu, and Mrs. Wang discussed it and arranged for the Shui family. Every day, after meals or in the evening, Aunt Shui would come over to chat with Mrs. Jia or with Mrs. Wang. Bao Chai and sisters Daiyu and Ying Chun were waiting together, either reading, playing chess, or doing acupuncture, but they were very happy in their work. But it is said that Bao Chai was born with lustrous muscles and bones, elegant manners, a face like a silver basin, eyes like apricots, lips that are not dotted but red, and eyebrows that are not painted but green, that he looks dignified and generous. Also, a group of illustrious people from the Shui family came to the Jia mansion, and the rewards were generous. They usually cheered and supported each other, which was in sharp contrast to the few people like Daiyu. There was also the slanderous servant who said in private, "Miss Shui, this is the bearing of our young lady, nothing like Miss Lin." He also said, "Miss Lin is in poor health. She keeps Ganoderma lucidum and birds' nests every day. I don't know who she is, but she is so delicate. Those old ladies would just talk and chirp, that's all." Even those little girls would love to play with Bao Chai. Although Jia Mu valued Daiyu, she was too old after all and could not stand up for Daiyu. Gradually, the servants began to look down upon Daiyu. Daiyu had no choice but to solve it on her own. Who would have thought that this morning, Mrs. Wang was arranging household chores with Sister Feng, when suddenly a woman hurried in and reported urgently, "Madam, Grandma, there is someone coming from Prince Yijuan's residence." Mrs. Wang was shocked. "Is there any news about Yuan Shun?" "This, the little ones don't know either. Please come in quickly." I saw 3 women who were simply dressed and well-behaved walking in. They bowed to Mrs. Wang upright. The one in the front is a woman in her 30s, very capable, and the 2 in the back are girls in their 20s, with pretty looks. I've seen pleasant people. Get up, I wonder what's going on in Prince Yi's palace." The woman who started the conversation stood respectfully with her hands lowered and replied, "The younger one is Princess Yijuan, who is here to deliver the message. The county prince made a special trip to send a message from Yangzhou. Mr. Lin and our county prince have a half-master friendship. Since Mr. Lin's girl has come to the capital, our county prince will naturally take care of her." Mrs. Wang's eyes moved slightly, and she smiled. "I see. Miss Lin is not in good health. She is not accustomed to the climate in the capital and has a slight cough. Poor little girl, please don't go out to see the wind." The woman who started the conversation looked down and raised the corners of her lips slightly. "Our county princess received a letter from the county prince. Since she has no experience in taking care of little girls, she went to the palace to ask concubine Liang for advice. When the imperial concubine heard about this, she felt pity for Miss Lin, who lost her mother at a young age. Master Lin has devoted his loyalty to the country, and specially gave 2 maids to comfort Miss Lin. This is Tsuyu, who makes good medicinal food and is best at recuperating the body. This is Zhuyu, who used to serve as the pen and ink clerk for the Empress. I heard that Miss Lin is also full of knowledge, so the Empress specially asked her to accompany Miss Lin to relieve her boredom." Mrs. Wang was speechless for a moment. Concubine Liang and concubine Yijuan have considered it so thoroughly. What reason does she have for refusing? Not to mention that her daughter Yuan Shun is still living in the hands of others. What kind of luck does that little girl have to have so many people worrying about her? Mrs. Wang and Jia Min have always been at odds with each other. It is naturally impossible to say how sincerely she considers Daiyu. She had also heard the comments of those servants, but she only disciplined them in a moderate way. Who knew that Prince Yijuan's palace would support Daiyu like this? Having a good father just doesn't work like that. Qingyu and Zhuyu took half a step forward and performed a standard palace ceremony. Qingyu/Zhuyu, I've seen Yiren. Both of them are 7th grade, 3rd-class palace maids, and they have reached the age where they are about to leave the palace. Seeing that there is no hope of promotion, they also have the intention to leave the palace. But being helpless outside the palace, the two of them felt very uneasy. Now, placing them next to Dayu can be regarded as finding a good way out for them. This is not considered selling one's body, but similar to hiring. And because she came from the palace, she turned out to be a servant of the imperial concubine. Even in a home like the Jia Mansion, her status was one level higher than that of an ordinary slave. Mrs. Wang winked and asked Jean Schwanner to take Qin Yu and Zhu Yu to show Jiamu first, and then listen to Jiamu's arrangements. After all, Dayu is now raised under Jiamu's knees. Then, Mrs. Wang gave the old woman a seat. "Mommy, please sit down and talk. What should I call you?" The old slave's surname is Chun, and his nickname is not worth mentioning. The princess calls the old slave Grandma Chun. "Oh, Nanny Chun, please have some tea." After hesitating for a moment, Mrs. Wang asked again with a smile. "Mama Chun is serving the princess of the county. I wonder, have you ever seen concubine Jia?" Grandma Chun said respectfully, "Is Erin talking about Jia Yuanchun's concubine?" Exactly. Grandma Chun smiled slightly. "Because His Highness is traveling far away, the princess of the county has spared the concubines and concubines to greet her, so I haven't seen Jia's concubine for a while." "Is that so?" However, concubine Jia is a female official in front of the queen. She has always been very polite. She has also been helpful to my princess, who also takes good care of her." That's fine. Mrs. Wang reluctantly breathed a sigh of relief and continued to inquire about Jia Yuanshan. The other side, Jiamu half squinted her eyes and looked at the two maids in front of her. They are all in their early 20s, beautiful in appearance, not stunningly beautiful, but with clear features. The posture is upright, the face is smiling, the head is slightly lowered, the eyes are downward, and the etiquette is standard. Both of them wore goose-yellow soft satin narrow-sleeved shirts, lake-colored flower and bird brocade armor, and plain poplin skirts. They wore hanging buns, but with a few hair ropes and not a single beaded silk flower. It can be said that it is the most standard dress for a palace maid. I have a green feather body and am good at cooking soup. I used to work in the small kitchen in the palace of the Empress. The Empress told me that Lord Lin is devoting himself to the country in Yangzhou, so he must take good care of Miss Lin's body so that Lord Lin has no worries. I have a body of red feathers, and I am proficient in pen and ink. I was originally the one who organized the bookshelves and served pen and ink in the Empress's small study. When the Empress heard that Miss Lin had read a lot of poems and books, she sent me here to relieve Miss Lin's boredom. Wang Shifeng was waiting in front of Jiamu. When she saw this, she rolled her eyes, clapped her hands, and said with a smile, "It is indeed the person in front of the imperial concubine. Look at the rules and demeanor in her body. She actually compared our girls to the mud." Jiamu nodded slowly, suddenly smiled, and waved to Yuanyang. "Hurry up and call your Miss Lin over and let her meet these two girls. Either they're serving in front of you. They are really good-natured." The two of them saluted simultaneously and said, "I don't dare." Dayu was playing with Dayu. Hearing that the Empress in the palace had given Dayu a messenger, they also came to see him like tea first sight. I was disappointed. I felt that these two people were not beautiful, but looked like two pieces of wood, which was really boring. Qingyu/Zhu Yu. I've seen the girl. Dayu was stunned for a moment, then quickly stepped forward and supported the two of them with one hand. "Hello, two sisters. I think they're also high-ranking maids in the palace. Now they come to serve me, but they are wronged." Qingyu smiled softly, with a respectful expression. "What are you talking about, girl? Since we have followed the girl, we are the girl's people. What's wrong with serving the master?" Seeing Dayu's confusion, Zhu Yu explained with a smile. It turned out that His Royal Highness the County Prince met Mr. Lin in Yangzhou. His Highness thought that Mr. Lin loved his daughter so much that he sent a message to the princess and asked her to send two people to help take care of Miss Lin. The princess received the letter from the prince and was afraid that it would not be done well, so she went into the palace and asked the two of us from the princess to Miss Lin. Dayu couldn't help but think of the man she had seen on the boat. That is His Highness, the third prince. So what His Highness said is true. Thinking of this, Dayu first believed in Qingyu and Zhuyu. But now that there are two people like this, Dayu can no longer live in Bish's closet. After all, she came from the palace, a high-class palace maid, who was originally serving the imperial concubine. Naturally, she could not sleep in a human room like an ordinary girl, but had to clean up her room for her beloved. Originally, the young ladies of the Jia family were supposed to have 4 nuns, 2 eldest girls, and 4 little girls. Dayu only brought Mama Wang and Xian, and Jiamu also made up for her parrots, while Qingyu and Zhiyu took the rest, taking up the space for 2 nuns. Taking this opportunity, Jiamu also made up for the remaining people. If that's the case, you can live in Yin Yuan, which is close to Grandma's house. You could talk to Grandma more often, okay? The Rongqing Hall, where Jia's mother lived, was a large courtyard with 5 entrances. The Yin courtyard belonged to the West Span courtyard, which was across the hall from the backyard of the Rongqing Hall. There were hand-painted verandas connecting both sides, and there were also main rooms, side rooms, and reverse seats. It was a regular square layout. When Bayu heard this, he was like thunder. In the past few days, he and Dayu lived inside and outside the Bisha cupboard. They walked together and sat together during the day and slept together at night. They felt that they were really in harmony with each other and did not engage in business at all. Now, because the palace has rewarded 2 people, Sister Lin is being asked to live in a separate courtyard and separated from him. How can Bayu comply with this? Ancestor, why do you need to let Sister Lin go out? How about we stay the same as before? How about these 2 sisters? Let them live with Sister Yuanyang. Please, Ancestor. Qingyu and Zhuyu quietly looked at each other, then bowed their heads and said nothing. Jiamu hugged Baoyu to comfort him. Good boy, when the weather gets warm, it's time to clean up your sister's house. But now it's just a little earlier. It's still in the same yard after all. If you want to see your sister Lin, just go there. It'll be the same as before, so you might as well, yes. How can this be the same as before? However, seeing that this matter could not be changed, Bayu had no choice but to lower his head and responded dully. Sister Lin, can I still play with you every day? Dayu smiled and nodded. What does Princey mean? In the Rongqing Hall, Mother Jia sat at the top, Mrs. Wang sat at the bottom, and Wang Shifeng stood aside. I'm afraid that Prince E is trying to win over Master Lin, so let's start with Dayu. Mrs. Wang whispered. Jiamu closed her eyes and thought for a while. You guys should take more care of her. Remember to give her something to eat, use, or play with. Also pay attention to her daily food and clothing. Isn't the maid sent by the Empress good at medicinal food? Whatever she wants, just give it to her. Wang Shifeng quickly agreed. Exactly, ginseng, cinnamon, and the like are not rare in our family. How much can we use to keep Sister Lin healthy? I just give them to them. Jiamu nodded slowly and looked at Mrs. Wang again. But I asked, how is Yuan-chun? Mrs. Wang wondered. The old lady was originally someone close to the princess. She said that the princess was out, so the princess stopped to say hello. She has not seen Yuan-chun recently. Jiamu sighed softly. If Yuan-chun and the princess had a good relationship, wouldn't the princess call her to the main courtyard to talk to her when the prince was out? You still have less to think about. Mrs. Wang nodded quickly. Yes, my wife still needs your guidance. Jiamu said slowly. Sigh. Let's find a way some other time and bring her some money. Yuan-chun came here to be a concubine. As a concubine, the most important thing is to please her husband and mistress. She has to lower her posture. The same goes for the princess of the county. He is a powerful and understanding man who will not hesitate to support his concubines. Yes, my wife knows. The other side, Yin Yuan, is a small square courtyard. It got its name because there's a tall sycamore tree in the courtyard, which is full of green shade and is quite interesting. Seeing that the matter was irreversible, Jia Baoyu insisted on tidying up the house with Sister Lin and choosing the colors and patterns of curtains and bedding. The furniture in the house is all ready-made, and the whole set is made of rosewood, and the style is also light. Hang up the curtains, arrange the bedding, put some toys and ornaments to decorate, and you can live in it. There are 3 main rooms in the courtyard. The middle one is used as a hall, the east one is used as a study, and the west one with a conservatory is used as a bedroom. Sister Feng is serving the old lady and his wife. The only one who can do this is Pinger, who directs the girls to go about their business. She also has to deal with Bao Yu, a young man who always makes trouble for others. I remember there was a beautiful blue tent embroidered with bamboo leaves, perfect for Sister Lin. And that curtain, why did you choose this one? Why not choose the pink one? Change this quickly. The color of this pillow is too old-fashioned and doesn't suit my sister. The servants of the Jia family have become accustomed to this, especially in Jia's mother's house. But this situation left Qing Yu and Zhu Yu dumbfounded. They have never seen a boy raised to look like a girl like this. I think back when His Highness the Third Highness was raised under the knee of concubine Liang. What did he learn? It is poetry, calligraphy, martial arts, and writing most at a painting, usually 2 strokes and match the colors, just to cultivate your temperament. I have never seen a housekeeper happily tidying up other people's houses. Later, Dayu got annoyed and pointed at Bao Yu and said, "Why are you doing this? After all, it's me who lives here, not you. If anything doesn't go well, just ask them to change it when the time comes. You're making trouble like this. It's obvious that you don't want to let anyone go." I moved in. Jia Baoyu came closer with a smile. "Good sister, let them clean up slowly. Let's stay inside and outside the bishop cupboard tonight, and sleep as before, okay?" Dayu glanced at him directly. This glance froze half of Baoyu's body. He looked at Dayu blankly, feeling as if his heart had been hit by something. Qing Yu and Zhu Yu finally understood the meaning of what the princess said to them before they came in. It seems that the Jia family's wealth will not last long, but Mr. Lin's future is still far away. You go take care of Miss Lin and ask her not to mess up the rules too much. While they were talking and laughing, someone came outside to report, "Miss Bao is here." Dayu's face suddenly sank. Then she quickly adjusted herself and smiled. "Sister Bao, you're finally here." "What?" "Sister Lin is moving out." "That's right. Sister Bao, please help me persuade our ancestors." "Brother Bao, this is what should be done. I know you are reluctant to let it go, but there is no such thing as a banquet in the world. After all, we are in the same courtyard, so you can come and go often." Bao Yu had no choice but to respond dully. Walking into the courtyard, Xue Baochai saw Qing Yu and Zhu Yu at a glance that in fact, the two people's well-behaved appearance is particularly outstanding. In this yard, it is like 2 small trees growing among the flowers and grass. Are these 2 sisters from the palace? The 2 of them bowed to each other. "Meet the girl." Xue Baochai was startled and quickly returned the gift. "I don't dare to let the 2 sisters salute." Dayu glanced at her and said calmly, "Don't crowd in here. You give me a gift, and I'll return a gift. Go sit and talk in the hall." Several young ladies and gentlemen went back to Jiamu's house. After a few people sat down, Baochai asked again, "I heard in the days that it was the imperial concubine in the palace who rewarded someone to take care of Sister Lin. Is it concubine Zhen?" "It's concubine Liang. This was originally the wish of Prince Yi. The concubine went to the palace to ask for the concubine." Dayu looked calm. Baochai covered his mouth with one hand and said with a smile, "I didn't know that Sister Lin also knew the county prince." As soon as Dayu said this, she remembered the meeting with Sin Ming Che on the boat on the way. "My father has some friendship with the county prince. I think the county prince also takes care of me for my father's sake." Bao Yu couldn't help but muttered, "What kind of people from the palace are not as good as Sister Yuanyang?" As soon as these words came out, Shiren was so frightened that he quickly covered his mouth and whispered, "My good young master, you can rest a while. That's someone who comes from the palace. How can we criticize him at will?" As soon as this incident came out, all the gossip about Dayu among the people in the Jia family was immediately clear. Think about it. Miss Lin is the one the empresses in the palace care about, and she even specially rewarded someone to take care of her. Is that normal? Seeing that Dayu was coughing and wheezing, she thought it was due to dryness of the lungs and the weather in the north. That night, Qingyu used a small silver spoon to cook a cup of white fungus and snow pear soup in the tea room and brought it to Dayu. "Excuse me, sister." Dayu took it and thanked her softly. Now she has moved into Yinyuan, where she lives in a much more spacious place. But the place is larger and requires more charcoal fires. When the charcoal gas is strong, her throat will feel uncomfortable, and this bowl of white fungus and snow pear soup is just the right remedy. I don't dare to take this as a trouble, Qingyu whispered. I have something to ask the girl. Daiyu waved her hand and told the others to retreat, leaving only Qingyu and Zhuyu. The two sisters came from the palace, so they are naturally more successful in what they say and do. If there is anything I can't think of, just give me some advice. Zhuyu hesitated for a moment and whispered, Miss, do you have any thoughts about your life? She's a little girl after all. When Daiyu heard this, she immediately blushed. Why do you say this, sister? Of course it's the parents' order and the matchmaker's words. Zhuyu said softly, Miss, since the Empress has put us by your side, we will share weal and woe with you. To be honest, men and women do not sit together at the age of 7, but a few days ago, you and Baoyu were in by rest inside and outside the gauze closet. Daiyu's face turned from red to pale. Qingyu quickly comforted him. Miss, our guard against men and women is not that heavy, but it is not appropriate to live like that. But it can be seen that Mrs. Jia's intention is to pair up the young lady and Mr. Baoyu and cultivate them first. It's a bit like childhood sweethearts' friendship. This is actually the painstaking work of the old lady. After all, the girl is the eldest daughter of a widowed mother. The eldest daughter who lost her mother is the first of the 5 not to marry. Daiyu seemed to be deflated, leaning on the soft cushions and shedding tears. Zhuyu hurriedly said, Girl, it stands to reason that the two of us are overstepping our bounds by saying this. But seeing how the young lady and Mr. Baoyu see each other every day and describe them as being intimate, we have to mention it. Qingyu quickly hugged Daiyu and wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Girl, Mr. Lin also had the intention of sending us two here. From this point of view, even if Mr. Lin originally had that intention, he regrets it now. Daiyu cried and choked. Then what should I do? Zhuyu comforted him softly. Girl, I think Mr. Baoyu also has a gentle and carefree character. If the girl just plays with him, it will be fine. The two of them haven't been together for long now, and even if they have friendship, it's just a friendship between playmates and nothing has developed. Daiyu said fiercely, I will never play with him again, and I will never see him again. After a while of consolation, Daiyu slowly calmed down, then called the parrot in, twisted the wet handkerchief, and applied it to her eyes. Why is the girl crying like this? I'll ask the kitchen to boil an egg and roll it out in a while, otherwise it will be swollen tomorrow. It turned out that I was homesick, and that's why I cried. Daiyu closed her eyes and lay on her back on the bed, letting Xian apply it to her eyes. Qingyu smiled and said, I heard from the princess that Mr. Lin specially asked the prince to bring 2 cooks from Jiangnan to give to Miss Lin. When the girl gets homesick, she will ask the cooks to cook 2 Jiangnan dishes. Would you like to relieve your homesickness? Speaking of this, Daiyu became interested and started talking about Jiangnan cuisine with a few people. In the days that followed, Daiyu still played with Baoyu, but she had something on her mind and was no longer so scrupulous in her treatment of Baoyu. On this day, Daiyu and Baoyu were playing with a 9-ring chain in their room. Zhou Rui's family came in and said with a smile, Miss Lin, my aunt asked me to send flowers and the girl brought them. When Baoyu heard about it, he asked first, What kind of flower? Bring it to me. He reached out his hand to take it. When I opened the box and took a look, it turned out to be artificial flowers made by the palace. Daiyu only looked at Baoyu's hand and said nothing. Qingyu also took a look and asked, Is it just my girl alone, or are there all the other girls? Zhou Rui's family said, Everyone has it. These 2 branches belong to Miss Lin. Daiyu sneered. Qingyu said, I thought there were only 2 flowers in such a big box. It turned out that others didn't pick the remaining flowers and sent them here. Zhuyu then said, It turns out that in the palace, the master also rewarded such a pile of gauze and flowers. As a coincidence, the girl and I gave these 2 flowers to the 2 of us. Daiyu waved her hand. You 2 each have one. Take it and play with it. Zhou Rui's family was silent after hearing this. Baoyu then asked, Sister Zhou, what did you do to get there? Yin from Zhou Rui's family said, My wife is there. Yin went to answer the question, and my concubine asked me to bring her to her. Baoyu said, What are you doing at home, Sister Bao? Why can't you come here these days? Zhou Rui's family said, I'm not feeling well. After hearing this, Baiyu said to the girl, Who's going to take a look? I just said that Miss Lin and I sent to greet my aunt and sister and asked her what kind of illness she was and what medicine she was taking. I should come in person, so she said, I've caught a bit of a cold since I came from school, so I'll see you in person someday. When Dayu heard this, she felt sour in her heart at first, and then laughed at herself. With Baoyu's temperament of loving red and fragrant flowers, all he thinks about are his sisters every day. In any case, he is not a good man who can be entrusted to him for the rest of his life. This is the Jia family. No matter how kind her grandmother is to her, it is not her own home, and she cannot feel as comfortable as she does in her own home. Since then, my feelings for Baoyu have become weaker and weaker. When she learned that Bao Chai and Baoyu were looking at Jin Suo and Baoyu in turn, she felt no more fluctuations in her heart. What's engraved on your jade is don't lose, don't forget, your immortal life will be prosperous. What's engraved on her golden lock is never leave, and you'll be young forever. They really are a couple. While they were talking and laughing, the girl from Jia Mu's yard ran over and said, The princess of the county has sent someone again. Now they're in front of the old lady. They are asking Miss Lin to come over. Baoyu was not happy and muttered, What an old lady! You come here again and again, and you still want to see Sister Lin. Everyone here knew that he had this temperament, and there were no outsiders present, so they just let him go. Aunt Chun came, as usual, dressed neatly, with complete etiquette and a respectful attitude. The chair at the bottom was only half full. This must be Miss Lin. Seeing Dayu walk in, Grandma Chen's eyes lit up. I didn't know Miss Lin was such a person. If the county princess saw her, she would definitely like her. The county prince brought some things back from Jiangnan, and the things Mr. Lin brought to the girl were also sent over. Lin Dayu's heart moved. Did his father bring something for him? Grandma Chun waved, and a stout grandma, who looked to be in her late 40s, came in. I think the girl may miss the taste of Jiangnan when she comes to the north. Master Lin specially found a cook to come over and cook Jiangnan dishes for the girl. There were also 16 women working in pairs, carrying 8 large boxes. These boxes are from the latest designs and colors from the Jiangnan area. I think it's like in Jia Lei Fengzhen's house. The bottoms of the boxes would be crushed by the good materials. Giving these is just to give the girl something fresh to wear. This box contains beads of various colors, with different sizes and textures, for girls to play with. This box is a box of various books that Mr. Lin brought from Jiangnan. He said that he thought the girl would like to read them. This box contains a complete set of calligraphy brushes and several kinds of rice paper that girls are used to. Although the old Fengjun also has good paper and pens here, the ones that girls are used to are different after all, so he brought them all over. By the way, these jars are filled with this year's Mingxian tea. Give the girl a taste. There are also some odds and ends, all put in this box. Jia Mu smiled kindly, but there was a sparkle in her eyes that did not match her age. Is the county prince coming back soon? Grandma Chun said respectfully, Exactly. When can it be decided? The old slave doesn't know. Jiamu nodded, smiled at Dayu, and said, Okay, put your things away quickly and go back to the house to play. Zi's mother-in-law moved things to Dayu's room. The next day, a message was sent to Prince Yijuan's palace. Princess Yijuan personally sent it, inviting Dayu to come and play. The princess invites you. It would be rude not to go. Mrs. Wang twisted the Buddhist beads in her hand and whispered, Besides, I don't know how Yuan Shun is. I don't know. Dayu has gone. Can I ask? Jiamu said calmly. In the inner courtyard of the palace, do you still expect your, a little girl, to go find out the news? If you want to know something, ask Dayu to bring the parrot over. The meaning of this is to let Inga go and inquire about the news from the servants of the palace. Sure enough, Ginger is still old and spicy. Hearing that Prince Yijuan was going to take Dayu over to play, before Dayu said anything, Baoyu became excited first. What's my sister doing there? It's just the county prince's palace, so what's the good point? I've already robbed Sister Yuan Shan and left, but what's more, I'm going to take Sister Lin away again, right? Jia Mu patiently explained to him. Princess Yijuan just wanted to invite you, Sister Lin, to play there. She's coming back. Bao Yu was as dissatisfied as a candy, acting like a spoiled brat in every possible way, and even wanted to go with Lin Daiyu. But Jiang Mu, who had always been doting on him, suddenly became very determined. Bao Yu kept fussing for half the night, but in the end he was so tired that he cried himself to sleep. The next day, Daiyu took Zhu Yu and Inga on the carriage to Prince Yijuan's mansion. Prince Yijuan's mansion was not far from Rongning's second mansion, and the carriage arrived at its destination in just one stick of incense. Daiyu got off the car and changed into a sedan chair and was carried into the hanging flower gate. Grandma Chun and her two little girls were waiting by the hanging flower door. When Daiyu's sedan arrived, she followed beside her and whispered some precautions to Daiyu. The rules of the prince's palace are similar to those of Jia's palace, but the rules are obviously stricter. The palace maids and eunuchs who come and go wear standard clothes and walk steadily, quickly, and almost silently. Princess Yijuan is sitting in the main hall, with her hair in a ponytail, an 8-treasure phoenix hairpin, a mother-of-pearl washing flower, and a burnt blue mother-of-pearl flower, red coral earrings, and a pearl, emerald, and white jade necklace on her neck. Sapphire blue group flower brocade, round collar robe, maroon and red beaded and bird pattern brocade, scattered flower skirt, treasure pattern cloud toe shoes. A pair of bright wrists were revealed during the movement. On the wrists were a pair of dark blue jade bracelets, a chrysoberyl ring, and a burnt blue fire opal nail buckle. It is dignified and generous, and the embroidery is brilliant. Is this Miss Lin? Come here quickly and let me take a closer look. Princess Yijuan did not let Daiyu salute. She took her hand and asked her to sit next to her. She looked up and down and praised her. There really are such beautiful people in the world, and I just met them today. Sitting under her were two women of about the same age. One was wearing a pink, auspicious deer group flower brocade trousers, and the other was wearing a bright green brocade with a back pattern and a straight collar. Princess Yijuan pointed to the one wearing pink. This is Concubine Wu. Then he pointed to the one in green. This is the Concubine Wei. Daiyu wanted to see her as a gift, but the two concubines quickly refused. Even the concubine didn't let this little girl salute. So do they have to accept her salute? How big is your face? Princess Yijuan held Daiyu's hand. The more she looked at it, the more she fell in love with it. She then directly picked the burnt blue mother-of-pearl flower from her own head and inserted it into Daiyu's head. This matches your clothes today. By the way, the prince once gave me a set of burnt blue lotus-shaped jewelry. Please bring it to Miss Lin. Daiyu quickly declined. The princess smiled and said, I have always liked burnt blue jewelry, and the prince gave me a lot of them. I thought that the lotus flower set would suit you, so I gave it to you, so there's no need to refuse. If you really want to thank me, just put it on another day and let me see it. The principal concubine was like this, and the two side concubines were busy giving greeting gifts. Concubine Wu presented a gold hairpin for the jade rabbit to worship the moon, and Concubine Wei presented a pair of gold-embroidered cloisonné enamel bracelets. Princess Yijuan asked her in detail how she was doing and what medicine she was taking. When he learned that Daiyu had symptoms of deficiency, he immediately called for an imperial physician to diagnose and treat Daiyu. Good girl, please don't refuse. Your father is loyal to the country in Yangzhou, but he allows you to come to the capital alone. If we stop caring about you, wouldn't we become white-eyed wolves? You deserve this. Daiyu felt ashamed now. The lunch was served in the garden, and it was all Jiangnan cuisine. Some of the ingredients were not available in Beijing, so they were replaced with ones with similar taste. The princess asked eagerly, Try it. Do you like it? This is also made by the chef brought by the prince from Jiangnan. You are the only one here who is from Jiangnan. If you say it is authentic, then it is the real one. The Jinling 3 grasses and early spring 4 wilds were served first, and later they were served squirrel fish, sweet scented osmanthus duck, egg siamai, beauty liver, anchovy shrimp, 8 treasure braised duck, and the soup was a winter melon cup. Finally, there are rice dumplings made with fermented red beans and glutinous rice sprouts for dessert. As she was eating, tears welled up in Daiyu's eyes. This was the perfect hometown taste, and it directly aroused her homesickness. But Dayu also knew that this was not the occasion for her to cry, so she endured the tears. After dinner, the princess ordered a little show. The garden in the prince's mansion is newly built, and many flowers and trees have not yet grown. It's early spring again, and everything is bare. There's nothing interesting to see. It's better to watch a show. After saying that, he ordered a lively martial arts play and handed the playbook to Dayu, asking her to order the play. Dayu hesitated for a moment and clicked on Lin Chong's Night Run. Unexpectedly, although this opera troupe sang in a northern tune, they sang in a southern tune. Each one sings with the sound of cracking stones and dances like a demon. Although the description is staged, it depicts all the joys and sorrows. In this room, the princess entertained Dayu carefully, but in the other room, Ingu remembered Jia Mu's instructions and wanted to ask how Yuanshan was doing. Seeing Zhu Yu following Dayu closely, Ingu used the excuse of going to the clean room to escape. After a while, I came out and saw no one around, so I quietly slipped to the corner door. Seeing that there were only 2 women watching at the corner door, the parrot burst into laughter, took out 2 silver coins from his purse, went up and said hello, and stuffed one into each of them. The 2 women weighed in on each other and accepted it happily. Did the girl come with Miss Lin? Exactly. I used to be the person in front of the old lady of Rongwa Mansion. Because the old lady liked Miss Lin, she gave me to Miss Lin to serve her. Parrot laughed. It's just that the old lady misses not only her grandson, but also her biological grandson. I came here today and wanted to find out more. Who are you asking about? Our old lady's eldest granddaughter was originally a female official in front of the queen, but was later given to the county prince by her. The 2 women looked at each other. Rongwa Mansion, Jia family. Oh, it's Jia's concubine. The 2 women laughed. Concubine Jia, you are so attentive. Yes, even though the princess and the queen have said that they don't need to come to pay their respects, it still comes rain or shine every day. Isn't that right? You're good at needlework and thread, and you can make a lot of things for the princess, right? Yes, socks, forehead wipes, and shoes. I bring 2 of them every now and then. You are very attentive to the princess. Hey, as a concubine, isn't that how it should be? When it comes to diligence, concubine Jia can't compare to Xiaohan. When the parrot heard this, he interrupted. Then, which one does the prince like? Prince? The prince is naturally the best with the princess. The 2 concubines can also get 2 or 3 days every month. As for the concubines, whether they can remind the prince, it all depends on luck. Inga's heart skipped a beat as he thought of the ants in the second Master Jiazheng's house. Aunt Zhao can still get some attention after giving birth to a child, but someone like Aunt Zhou can only breathe more than a dead person. But if the prince likes the princess, that is called conjugal affection. And if he likes to serve his concubine, that is called favoring, and doting on his concubine destroys his wife. But the old lady and her wife also had great expectations for Yuanshan. Pretending to be worried, Inga and Dayu returned to Jiang Mansion, silently all the way. In Rongqing Hall, Jiamu had been waiting eagerly. You are back? How was your time? How was the princess treating you? Dayu replied softly and brought back accurate news. Sin Ming-che, the prince of Yijuan, will be back within 3 days. At that time, the prince of Yijuan will invite her as a guest. Good, good, good. Jiamu's eyes shone with joy. When Sin Ming-che stepped on the shore, he had the illusion that the boat was shaking. Finally returned to the capital. But he couldn't rest yet. He had to rush into the palace to report the situation to the emperor's father. Even though everything is carefully scrutinized, the format still has to go. When he arrived at the palace, Dai Quan, the eunuch beside the emperor's father, came to greet him. Seeing this, Sin Ming-che knew that the emperor's father was still very satisfied with his behavior this time. On the surface, the message he gave to the emperor's father was, of course, praising his virtues. He described in detail the beautiful scenery from Yangzhou to Jinling, how delicious the food was, and expressed his gratitude to the emperor's father for sending him such a good job. In fact, Sin Ming-che reported on the spot the collusion and corruption between the officials' families the salt administration issues, and those things that offended people. The eldest prince and the second prince also took turns to testify against him, saying that he had been embezzling, extorting bribes, and spending extravagantly in Jiangnan. But the one who has the final say is still the emperor. As long as the emperor and several powerful ministers and elders in the cabinet know the truth, everyone else is just barking wild dogs and will not make a difference. Besides, if you hang out in the court, how can you not get involved? Next, you go to the Ministry of Industry to gain experience and learn more from the elders in the Ministry of Industry. Do you hear me? Yes, father, my son obeys. It seems that the focus of the next work is on the Ministry of Industry. Is there anything I can use in the Ministry of Industry? Homemade cement? Yellow gunpowder? Jenny loom? You can plan well in advance. After saying goodbye in front of the emperor, Sin Mingche walked to the harem while thinking, to pay his respects to concubine Liang. He also brought back a lot of good things for concubine Liang to relieve his mother's boredom. The son traveled thousands of miles, and his mother was worried. Even though this trip was just a fun trip to the safe south of the Yangtze River, concubine Liang would also be secretly worried about him. Hey, isn't this third brother? This trip to Jiangnan was really fun. These words were said in a strange way. Sin Mingche turned sideways and saw Sin Mingyuan slowly walking towards him with two internal prisoners. Although there was a smile on his face, his eyes were sinister. I've seen the big brother. Sin Mingche specially added the accent to the last three words. So what if you're the eldest son? If you don't take it, you're not a prince? Sin Mingyuan looked at Sin Mingche, unable to hold back the hatred in his heart. Why is this kid so healthy? Why did the emperor give him the good job of going to Jiangnan this time? Why? Third brother, are you going to see concubine Liang? Exactly. I've been away from home for a long time, and I miss you very much. Oh, then don't forget to pay your respects to the queen. She is the legitimate mother. Do you understand? Thank you, imperial brother, for reminding me. Third brother understands. He has nothing except the title of eldest son. That's why Sin Mingyuan emphasizes his orthodoxy all the time. It's ridiculous. Not to mention the so-called eldest son, there are not many princes in history who have successfully ascended to the throne. Sin Mingyuan is still worried about this? So naive. Isn't it true that the throne is always occupied by those who are capable? I went to see the queen as usual, and the queen smiled at Sin Mingche with a hidden knife. Sin Mingche is used to it. Anyway, the queen can't really do anything to him. It is concubine Liang who should fight against the queen. As for concubine Liang's palace fighting ability, he didn't need to worry about it at all. My son is fine. Jiangnan is good, but still not as good as the capital. Concubine Liang is also getting older, and the weathered color gradually creeps into her beautiful eyebrows. But a beauty is still a beauty even in her old age. How did you go with the errand your father gave you? Father is very satisfied. That's good. President Xianghan comes to the palace to accompany me during this time. She's a good girl. You should be nice to her. Of course. Concubine Liang looked at him and sighed softly. You have grown up, and I am already old. I can't help you anymore. Mother, as long as you stay here and let me know that I still have a mother, that's enough. The mother and son talked for a while. Seeing that it was getting late and the palace gate was about to be locked, Sin Mingche reluctantly said goodbye. Walking on the palace road, Sin Mingche suddenly heard a heart-rending cry from behind him. In this palace, there are always people who are driven crazy. Sin Mingche wanted to pretend not to hear it and leave, but found that the footsteps were coming towards him. He turned around suddenly and saw a woman with disheveled hair running towards him with bare feet. Child, my child, my child. Sin Mingche was startled and took 2 steps back. Unexpectedly, the crazy woman pounced directly on him. Of course, the people Sin Mingche brought were not just decorations. They directly held this woman up. The woman struggled desperately, as if she wanted to fall on Sin Mingche. You are my child, the child I gave birth to in 10 months gestation, my child. Why do you want to accept someone else as your mother? Why don't you recognize me? Why don't you come to me? Do you know what I'm going through? At this time, the palace maids and eunuchs who were chasing the woman also rushed over panting. Concubine Li, Stop making trouble and return to the palace quickly. You didn't take any medicine today. Let's go back and take the medicine. Mother, you don't even have any shoes on. Let's put on your shoes first. Several people were trying to get this crazy woman away. Hold on. Synmingche raised his hand to stop them. Tell me, who is she? Your Highness, this is Empress Li Yibin. Li Yibi, his biological mother. Synmingche's emotions were a bit complicated. It stands to reason that Li Yibin is his biological mother, and he should respect her. However, not long after he was born, the emperor ordered that he be given to concubine Liang. It was concubine Liang who worked hard to make him grow up healthily and safely. Even his name was recorded in the name of concubine Liang. It can be said that in terms of etiquette and custody, he is the child of concubine Liang. Li Yibin is just his biological mother by blood and has no relationship with him. But he always remembered that delicate hand gently touching his face when he was born. What's wrong with Li Yibin? Back to your Highness, your Majesty. Your Majesty is suffering from madness. She cannot recognize people from time to time, and she is also making noises about looking for a child. Synmingche was silent for a while, signaled them to take the person away, and then turned and left. The two parties walked in opposite directions. After walking far away, Synmingche could still hear Li Yibin's heart-rending shouts. I am your mother, your biological mother. Why don't you recognize me? Why don't you recognize me? I am your biological mother. Synmingche sighed softly. Thuja, you go to the palace tomorrow to find out the situation and see if she is really crazy or fake, and whether the palace people are taking good care of her. If she is short of money or medicine, I will pay for it. My minister obeys. Mother. The next day, Synmingche reported that he was going to the Ministry of Industry. The Minister of Industry was also scratching his head in sorrow. What job should I arrange for this man? If you put such a giant Buddha here, let him do something. If he messes up, a group of people will have to clean up the mess for him. Don't let him do anything. The prince comes to you as an intern, and you let him sit on the bench. Do you no longer want to sit in this position of minister? The Minister of Industry decided to look at Synmingche's performance before deciding how to arrange work for him. Unexpectedly, on the first day he came, after Synmingche learned about the operation process of the Ministry of Works, he immediately expressed that he wanted to go directly to the craftsman to make something. The Minister of Industry was very happy at that time. I'm not afraid that you will make demands, but I am afraid that you will not ask for anything. As long as it's none of my business, you can do whatever you say. I don't take credit for good work, and I don't take responsibility for bad work. That's good. Synmingche's idea was to get out the cement first. Cement is a good thing, manufactured by local methods. Only slag Portland cement can be produced. The required materials are limestone, clay, iron, ore, and coal. The production method is to grind limestone and clay into flour, and then calcine the clinker. After that, the clinker and the slag left after iron making are ground together. What is produced in this way is indigenous cement. The coagulation, hardness, and high-temperature resistance of homemade cement cannot be compared with industrial cement. The level of discharging may also be uneven, and the standards are difficult to control. However, even homemade cement has undeniable advantages in construction. First of all, for the construction of the city, it can greatly reduce the use of manpower and speed up the construction speed. Secondly, as for road paving, because of its extremely low cost, it is stronger and faster than lush pavement, lasts longer, and is smoother. Finally, there is the issue of materials. Homemade cement uses cheap materials, which are particularly easy to find in this vast and abundant land, and even the firing process is considered simple. What needs to be considered during the production process is the material ratio and firing temperature. These can all be accomplished through experiments. Because of his status as a prince, the Minister of Industry happily found several old craftsmen who made Sana's soil for him, as well as several brick-burning craftsmen. These old craftsmen were surprised and frightened when they learned that they were going to work under the prince. Prince, that's such a high status. What does this prince want to build? Cement. Then they're making sanhitu on one side and bricks on the other, so they are not on the same side. Sana's soil, as the name suggests, is a building material made from the preparation and compaction of three kinds of materials. Different regions have different kinds of Saunas soil, but slaked lime is indispensable and widely existed in the era when there was no cement or there was a severe shortage of cement. Many cities in the north are built with Saunas soil. Sun Ming-che didn't talk nonsense to these people. He just said it clearly. If you have any objections, just say so. However, my orders must be carried out without compromise. Whoever dares to cause harm intentionally will be careful that the whole family will not be able to survive in the capital. But if things go well, I have a reward here. If you do it within 1 month, you will be rewarded with 100 taels of silver. If you do it within 2 months, you will be rewarded with 50 taels of silver. If you do it well within half a year, you will be rewarded with -taels of silver. If you do it well within a year, you will be rewarded with only 1 tael of silver. Silver reward, but everyone has it. So give me a good fuck. The power of silver is great. So although these craftsmen were frightened and worried, they still felt motivated. There are as many slag factories as there are for iron smelting. After all, iron smelting is indispensable in order to supply weapons to the Ministry of War. Grinding limestone and clay is also one of the steps in making Saunas soil. This ratio has been adjusted for a long time. There are formulas of 3-component soil, 1-to-1 formulas, ones with more limestone, and ones with more clay. Finally, several varieties have been tested and are ready for calcination experiments. The calcining step is left to the brick-burning craftsman. Bricks must be fired in a kiln, and kiln firing requires temperature, time, and annealing. Although the brick-burning craftsmen are good at burning bricks rather than cement, at least they have enough experience with kilns and fire. After burning 2 or 3 kilns, they quickly got into the groove. Sun Ming-che did not pretend to be a prince, but studied with these craftsmen and learned a lot of tricks. During this time, he ate and lived in the Ministry of Works. He only went home when he was resting, took a comfortable full-body bath, changed his clothes, fell asleep, and then plunged into the work again. In my own experiment, at this moment, the 2 concubines and 4 concubines of Prince Ijuin's palace turned from hope to disappointment. I originally expected the prince to come more often, preferably to conceive a child, but who would have thought? But Sun Ming-che doesn't have time to take care of those women who stay alone in empty rooms now. When the time limit of 1 month was approaching, he received the good news from the craftsman. He made something that looked very similar to the cement he was talking about. Looking at the bag of fine gray-blue powder, Sun Ming-che felt filled with emotion. Finally, it's done. Reward. Everyone is rewarded. If it is made within a month, everyone will be rewarded with 100 taels of silver. The Gongbu workshop burst into cheers. Now, let's burn this cement as much as we can. Then we'll start experimenting with how to use this cement, how to add water, how to mix it with sand to make mortar. For every application you find, I will reward you with 10 taels of silver. The craftsmen looked enthusiastic, and their eyes were shining with money. Cement can be used for overall pouring, paving the floor, making cement bricks, or being mixed in a mortar for bonding masonry or filling holes. Sun Ming-che knew how to use it, but didn't know how to adjust the ratio. But it doesn't matter. He now has professional help. The ancients were just less knowledgeable than modern people, but they were really no stupider than modern people. During the spring and autumn period, the ancients were able to use bronze to make linked cars. When there is no cement, you can also think of using glutinous rice slurry as an auxiliary bonding material to build an extra strong city wall. Therefore, Sun Ming-che never underestimates the abilities of these craftsmen, because he knows that in this regard, he is just standing on the shoulders of giants. The craftsman did not disappoint him. When the first yellow leaves of autumn fell, Sun Ming-che already had everything he wanted. We have the materials and the formula. Now we just need to experiment. Sun Ming-che set the location of the experiment in Zhuangzi on the outskirts of his own country. Pave the way first. You need to first pick up the big stones on the ground, level the ground roughly and tamp it down, then lay a layer of cement mixed with gravel, smooth it out and let it dry, then apply a layer of fine cement and draw thin lines on the surface. To avoid damage due to thermal expansion and contraction, Lay a layer of straw mat and wait to dry. It requires a lot of manpower and masons. It doesn't matter as long as you have money. Sun Mingche simply ordered to give money and recruit people. The autumn harvest is coming soon, and manpower is already tight. Rural families have men, women, old and young working together. It takes a lot of effort and money to recruit enough people. But there is no other way. Autumn in the north is short, and it will get colder after the harvest is over. Portland cement is heat-resistant but not cold-resistant. It will have problems solidifying in cold weather and is prone to cracking. The experiment must be completed before it gets cold. After paving the road, a drying area was built in the village to dry the grain harvested in autumn. And building houses. Today's houses are of mortise and tenon frame structure, and the load-bearing pillars are not the walls. Columns and beams are often connected with complex mortise and tenon joints, which can be described as an ingenious work. But this also created a problem. Expensive. Very expensive. After all, the demand is huge, it's labor-intensive and time-consuming, and there are only so many people who can do it. So won't the cost go up? When a rural family builds a house, the most expensive thing is the carpenter who can add beams to the house. But what if it is directly adhered by cement? The cost of cement is not higher than that of sauna soil, and cement is stronger and more waterproof. In this era, whether it is for military or civilian use, is a good thing. It can even be used for emergency rescue and disaster relief. Under Tsin Mingche's extravagant spending, his small village soon took on a completely new look. The houses are all built with cement, the roads are paved with cement, and a big cement drying yard is also paved. The people in Zhuangzi are also very proud. After all, they are involved in all of this. The head of the village said that as long as someone from his family helps, he will not need to pay for cement materials when the time comes to build his house. The bricks are cement bricks, and the adhesive is cement mixed mortar. The roof is not made of tiles, but is made of wood and then sealed with cement. Overall, I save a lot more money than before. Kai Mingche also tried to have the plasterer build the Kong and stove with cement, and the effect was very good. Hurrying slowly, Tsin Mingche finally renovated the entire Zhuangzi cement factory before the winter solstice. At first glance, it looks like a modern new rural area. It's done. Find a good time and invite the Minister of Industry to visit. Then you can write a letter to your father. Now, in his opinion, this Zhuangzi is more like his home than the palace. After all, the palace is ready-made. Just move it in, but Zhuangzi built it bit by bit. This, Your Highness, have you forgotten? Huh? What? You haven't been home for 2 months. Your change of clothes was sent to you by the princess. This, it would be okay if he was far away from home, but in the suburbs of Beijing, he actually worked hard for 2 months at a stretch without even entering his house. It was a bit unreasonable. Fortunately, his princess is special. If she were an ordinary woman, she would have exploded by now. Then, let's go back to the palace today. Carrying the dust of the construction site, Tsin Mingche finally returned to the palace after 2 months of absence. My lord, you are finally back. Lu Zicheng, the second-grade eunuch beside Tsin Mingche, is now the director of external affairs, and Fu Rong, the first-grade female official, is the director of internal affairs. With the princess here, the housekeeping can still run smoothly. But without the prince, the foreign affairs really can't move. There are so many posts. Lu Zicheng was about to cry. Xiaoguan has divided you into categories according to their importance. Those who can give gifts without leaving have already asked the princess to prepare gifts, and I personally sent them to you. These gifts are really impossible to deal with. Please take a look. Tsin Mingche took a look and found out that he had to pay a visit in person to show his closeness to Zhongzhou and Lu Xian's family, as well as Li Guo's residence. Even if he had missed it, he had to make up for it again. He also had to visit Prince Kang's mansion, Prince Sin's mansion, and some more important clan houses. Human society is nothing more than this. Have you prepared the gift list? It's all ready. Please take a look. Put it in my study first. I'll be at home these 2 days. I'll look at it tomorrow. The minister obeys the order. Correct. Tsin Mingche remembered something. Where's Thuja? The minister is here. What happened to what I asked you to check that day? Go back to your highness and find out. It turned out that Li Yibin was quite normal and doted on Sinming in the first year or two when she was taken away, but she was never able to have another child. Later, as she grew older, many pretty young girls came into the palace, and she gradually fell out of favor. But Li Yibin was unwilling to give in. As time went by, she blamed her loss of favor on the fact that her child was taken away. If the child had been raised under her knees, she would certainly not have fallen out of favor so quickly. At least the emperor would have remembered who she was. I have to say that this idea makes some sense. But she overlooked one thing, that is, did she have the ability to raise a baby well in this deep palace? As he thought about it, the person became more and more paranoid and gradually got into trouble, desperately trying to get his child back. That's why when Sinming was a child, Li Yibin blocked him on his way to and from school. Concubine Liang would definitely not tolerate such behavior, and Li Yibin's behavior also placed a burden on Sinming, so she was naturally stopped quickly. As a result, Li Yibin became even more confused. Considering her age, she's about to go through menopause now. Li Yibin, who was in menopause, developed mania. His mind is clear, but his emotions can go to extremes, and he is prone to extreme behaviors. I couldn't sleep every night, and I was very energetic during the day, talking endlessly and being moody and angry. She attributed all her current suffering to the fact that her child was taken away. In this era, there was no classification of mental illness. But Sinming can roughly infer that Li Yibin is not running away because of mania, and it is probably still very serious. Pay more attention to her at ordinary times, and don't let the 6th Bureau deduct her status. If you need any medicine, if you don't have it temporarily, get it from me. Also, don't let the palace people treat her harshly. He could only do this for Li Yibin. She is sick, but there is no medicine that can cure her in this era. Unless she wants to do it herself, all he can do is try his best to protect her life. As soon as he entered the second door, his princess came over with a smile. "My lord, you are back. Thank you for your hard work, princess. Isn't that true? How will the prince reward me?" The two smiled at each other and walked hand in hand. "Did those women cause any trouble for you?" "Except for you, the prince, the only people who can cause trouble for me have not yet been born. Then we have to hurry up and give birth to one." Princess Lu Jun covered her lips and smiled. While the couple chatted and ate affectionately, the other women in the backyard had already become restless. 2 months. The prince has only returned home once. This group of women, just like the employees who had been saving reimbursement forms for 2 months and finally had a financial problem, their eyes were green. But Sinming was really in no mood to deal with them. He just wanted to take a comfortable hot bath, eat a bowl of hot noodle soup, and have a solid sleep. In this world, the only people he can completely trust are his butler and controller. They rely on him for their existence, are absolutely loyal to him, and will definitely put his interests first. A good night's sleep. The next day, Sinming rushed to the Ministry of Industry full of energy. The Minister of Industry only knew that Sinming had been busy, but did not know what he was busy with. Now Sinming sincerely invites him, and the Minister of Industry is also willing to give him this face. Accompanying him were the 2 assistant ministers from the Ministry of Works. The king's carriage was very large, and it was more than enough room for the 4 of them. The long entourage crowded into the green-covered carriage behind, and the guards rode along with them. What does the prince want to show us? Look at a material. It can be plasticized with water and made into bricks. It can also be mixed with sand to form mortar to build walls. It can also be used to pave floors and build houses. Its strength is not only better than sauna soil, but even better than glutinous rice slurry. Of mortar? Really? How expensive is it? It's like Sanhito. The Minister of Industry and the 2 ministers looked at each other with disbelief written all over their faces. Is there such a thing in the world? How can it be? It's not like Prince E is just messing with them for the sake of credit. As the carriage left the city, it was obvious that the road conditions had deteriorated. After all, the road outside the city gate is paved with earth. Every day, people come and go, wheels run over it, Wind and rain blow, and there are always potholes. The Minister of Industry and the two ministers have also become accustomed to it. With that thought in mind, after wandering for a while, the carriage made a clang and seemed to have passed a hurdle. Then it went smoothly and smoothly without any bumps. Huh? What's going on? The Minister of Industry could not help but lift the curtain of the carriage and look out. I saw that the road, which could accommodate two carriages running side by side, was smooth and smooth, showing a light blue-gray color, and stretched continuously, leading to Zhuangzi in front. The edge of the road is also sealed with stones of the same color, which is commonly known as curb. On both sides of the road are endless fields, which have been harvested. There are women and children carrying bamboo baskets, bending down to pick wheat ears in the fields. This is... Sun Mingche smiled slightly. This is Xiao Wang's Zhuangzi. Is this the road you said was paved with that thing called cement? Exactly. The minister of the Ministry of Industry was so happy and itchy that he couldn't bear it. He immediately stopped the carriage, lifted the curtain, and jumped out. He walked around on the ground twice, stamped his feet hard, and leaned down to touch the ground with his hands. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's so strong. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Is this really something that humans can do? This road is completely ingenious. The servants on the left and right also jumped out of the carriage and carefully inspected the cement road. Not only walking on the road, but also running and jumping on the ground, even rubbing the soles of the shoes on the road. So, this is a cement road. How is this cement road laid? How much manpower does it take? Exactly. How much money and manpower will it cost to pave this road? Sun Mingche also got off the carriage, letting the three senior officials of the court jump up and down like giant monkeys to check the cement road. It doesn't cost much. Why don't we go further and take a look inside Zhuangzi? Okay, let's not take the carriage and just walk there. Let's also try to see what it feels like to walk on this cement road. The three of them were amazed as they walked. When they saw the houses in Zhuangzi with almost the same style, the three of them were so surprised that they couldn't even speak. Wow, actually this... Sun Mingche walked over with his hands behind his back and a smile. Because the cost of cement is really low, I asked the tenants in Zhuangzi to do the work, and I used the materials to renovate the entire house in Zhuangzi. He raised his hand and pointed at the largest courtyard house. Master Shangshu, the two ministers, that is where we will stay tonight. Sihiyuan is still a traditional building, but everything from bricks to mud and even tiles are made of cement. The only things that require carpentry are beams and rafters. Are they all made of cement? Good. The Minister of Industry and Industry murmured. I now believe that the cost of cement is low enough. After all, using cement to build roads and houses can be said to show the use of cement and to use better things, but giving cement to the tenants on Zhuangzi. Either there's too much money and no place to spend it, or this thing is really cheap. That night, the four of them rested in the village. The next day, Sun Mingche called the craftsmen and showed the three of them the firing and mixing of cement, and then let them look at the cement wall. Sun Mingche called a guard on the spot, took a 6-edged pumpkin hammer weighing 20 kilograms, rounded it, and smashed it against the wall. The low wall trembled for a while, a little dust fell down, and an angular white mark fell on the surface. But it didn't fall or collapse. The eyes of the Minister of Industry and the two ministers almost popped out of their heads. It's actually so strong. Sun Mingche nodded. Yes, it's that strong. The three of them circled around the cement wall, twirling cement powder, looking around, and wanted to try it with the mortar themselves. The right servant's head was spinning rapidly. Can that be used on the city wall? Of course can. And the construction of dams. Good. This thing is truly a divine weapon. God bless you, God bless you. Such a good thing has appeared. Prince Ijuan is truly a lucky star.